What's up, guys? Same deal as always. I'm jumping into Minecraft while sharing some absolutely crazy Reddit stories I dug up. It's going to be a wild ride, so kick back, relax, and enjoy the show. Hi, everyone. I'm not sure why I'm writing this. Maybe I just need to put it out there. I'm a 32-year-old man. The main people in this story are me, my wife, let's call her Sarah. She's 30, my younger brother Tom, he's 27, and my parents. Sarah and I were married for 5 years. We lived in a house I bought before we got married. It was a nice house. 3 bedrooms, a small yard. Tom was always the favorite child, I think. My parents always seemed to give him more attention, more help. He was always a bit wild. I worked a job that sometimes needed me to travel for a week or two at a time. It was a good job, paid well. Sarah worked part-time. Things were mostly okay between Sarah and me. We had arguments like any couple, but nothing major. About a year ago, Tom lost his job, again. He was living with my parents at the time. He's always had trouble keeping a job. My parents asked if he could stay with us for a bit, just until he got back on his feet. I wasn't too happy about it. Tom and I were never very close. He was always a bit of a taker, not a giver. But Sarah said it would be fine. She said it would be good for him to have some support. So I agreed, reluctantly. Tom stayed in our spare room. At first, it was okay. He said he was looking for work. He helped a little around the house. But then things started to change. I would come home from work, and Tom and Sarah would be laughing together, watching movies. It felt a bit like I was the outsider in my own home. I told myself I was just being jealous or tired from work. Then my work trips became more frequent for a couple of months. I was away for 2 weeks, then home for a week, and then away again for 10 days. It was a big project. It meant good money, a possible promotion. When I was home, Sarah appeared distant. She was on her phone a lot, texting. She said it was just her friends. Tom was still there. He said he was still looking for work, but I noticed little effort. He was always there, always in the house. I began to have a bad feeling, a really bad feeling. Once, I returned early from a trip. My flight was changed. I didn't tell Sarah. I wanted to surprise her. I arrived home in the afternoon. Her car was there. Tom's battered old car was there too. The house was quiet. I went inside. I discovered them in the kitchen. They were not doing anything improper at that moment, simply making coffee. But the way they jumped when I entered, the way they looked at each other, it caused my stomach to churn. I asked Tom how the job hunt was going. He mumbled something about a few leads. Sarah swiftly changed the topic, asking about my trip. I didn't say anything about my feeling. I told myself I was only imagining things. Before my next work trip, I chose to install a few security cameras inside the house. Small ones, easy to hide. I did this when Sarah was out shopping one afternoon. I didn't tell her. I knew she would ask why, and I didn't have a good answer that wouldn't sound accusatory. Tom wasn't home. I felt a little guilty doing it, like I was spying. But I had to know what was happening when I wasn't there. I placed one in the living room and one in the kitchen, concealed on high shelves. They recorded to a cloud server I could access from my phone. I went on my next work trip. It was for 2 weeks. The first few days, I didn't check the cameras. I was busy with work. I tried to push the bad thoughts away. But on the 4th day, I couldn't resist. I logged in. I checked the living room camera. What I saw made me feel sick. It was Tom and Sarah on my couch. They were kissing. Not just a small kiss. It was a long, passionate kiss. Then they began removing their clothes, right there, in my living room. I watched for a minute, maybe less. I couldn't breathe. I switched it off. I felt like I was going to throw up. My brother, my wife, in my house. I don't recall much about the rest of that day. I think I just sat in my hotel room, staring at the wall. I couldn't work. I couldn't eat. I kept seeing it in my head. The next day, I checked again. More of the same. They were behaving like a couple, holding hands, cuddling on the couch while watching TV. Tom was wearing my bathrobe. They were behaving like a couple, holding hands, cuddling on the couch while watching TV. Tom was wearing my bathrobe. They were preparing meals together in my kitchen. sleeping in my bed. I realized this because the bedroom door was open once, and I observed them. They were living like a happy couple. In my life, I saved the videos. I saved many of them. I had days of proof. I didn't say anything to them. I didn't call. I didn't text. I saved many of them. I had days of proof. I didn't say anything to them. I didn't call. I didn't text. I finished my work trip. It was the longest 2 weeks of my life. Each day I felt a rage building inside me, but also a strange coldness. I knew what I had to do. When I returned, I went to the house. I didn't inform them I was coming. It was a weekday, mid-morning. I assumed they would be there. And they were. I walked in, tell them I was coming. It was a weekday, mid-morning. I assumed they would be there. And they were. I walked in. They were in the kitchen, having breakfast, laughing while she was sitting on his lap. They froze when they saw me. Sarah's face turned white. Tom looked angry, then scared. "What are you doing here?" Tom asked. He actually asked me that. In my own house? "I live here," I said. My voice was very calm, or at least I used to. Sarah started to cry. "It's not what you think," she said. The classic line. "Oh, I think it is," I said. "I think you two have been having a great time while I've been away working." Tom stood up. He tried to appear tough. "So what if we have?" he said. "She doesn't love you anymore." "She loves me?" I looked at Sarah. She just continued to cry. "Is that true, Sarah?" I asked. She nodded, still looking down. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I didn't mean for you to find out like this." "How did you mean for me to find out?" I asked. "Or did you simply intend to keep living in my house with my brother while I paid for everything?" Neither of them said anything. Then I informed them about the cameras. I told them I possessed videos. I saw the panic in their eyes. Tom then began shouting, calling me names, saying I was a creep for filming them. Sarah just sobbed harder. I told them I wanted them gone, both of them, out of my house, immediately. Tom lunged at me. He threw a punch. He's always possessed a temper. I avoided it. I didn't wish to fight him. Not at that moment. I simply wanted them gone. He tried to hit me again, but he was clumsy. He tripped over a chair and fell, hitting his arm on the table. He began howling, clutching his arm. Sarah rushed to him, ignoring me. "Leave," I repeated quietly. "Pack your belongings and leave." Sarah helped Tom up. He was still cursing me, saying his arm was broken. It wasn't. He was just being dramatic. They went to the bedroom, my bedroom, and began tossing items into bags. It took them about an hour. I sat in the living room and waited. The entire time I could hear Sarah crying and Tom uttering threats. When they were ready to leave, Sarah stopped in front of me. I don't know what to say," she stated. "There's nothing to say," I responded. "Simply leave." They left. I observed them drive away in Tom's old car. Then I secured the door. I walked through my house. It felt unclean, corrupted. The next day, my parents called. I knew they would. Tom and Sarah had evidently gone directly to them. My mother began shouting at me before I could even say hello. How could I cast my own brother out onto the street? How could I be so unkind to Sarah? I attempted to explain. I recounted what occurred. My father took the phone. He was more composed, but his words were equally harsh. He claimed Tom and Sarah were in love. He stated these things occur. He mentioned Sarah was a good girl and Tom was finally settling down. He noted they had nowhere to go. Then came the moment that infuriated me. My mother returned to the phone and declared, "You must support them. You possess that large house. You have a good job. They are just beginning. They are a new family." I was astonished. "Support them?" I inquired. "You expect me to finance my wife and my brother living together after they did this to me?" "Don't be self-centered," my father stated. "Tom is your sibling. Sarah is, well, she's family. You ought to do the right thing." The right thing? I found what I was hearing unbelievable. The proper thing would have been for my brother not to sleep with my wife in my house. The proper thing would have been for my wife not to sleep with my wife in my house. The proper thing would have been for my wife to be truthful with me. The discussion continued for an extended period. They labeled me selfish, heartless, unforgiving. They appeared not to care whatsoever about what Tom and Sarah had done to me. They only showed concern for Tom and his new relationship. I informed them I was initiating divorce proceedings. My mother began crying. My father advised me to consider it, not to act rashly. He even implied that perhaps I was partly at fault for being away so frequently. I ended the call with them. I could no longer listen. I retained an attorney the same day. The subsequent few weeks were a haze of anger and documentation. I replaced the locks on the house. I commenced the divorce proceedings. Tom and Sarah were residing with my parents. My parents contacted me every few days, sometimes shouting, sometimes begging for me to be reasonable and assist Tom and Sarah financially. They desired me to grant Sarah the house, or at least a substantial amount of money. They stated Tom could not provide for her. Naturally, he could not. Approximately 3 months have passed since I expelled them. The divorce is progressing. We had a single mediation session. Sarah was present with her attorney. Tom was waiting outdoors like some sort of bodyguard. My parents were also present, attempting to speak with my lawyer, attempting to speak with me. I disregarded them. Sarah asked for little in the mediation. She just appeared distraught. She consented to a simple division of assets, what few we held together. The house was mine from before the marriage, so she had no claim to it. My lawyer was effective. He ensured that. Then, last week, a new development occurred. My lawyer contacted me. Sarah's lawyer had reached out to him. Sarah is pregnant. She's several months along. This means she became pregnant before I made her leave, while I was on one of my work trips, or maybe right after I returned, before I discovered. The timing is quite close. She says the baby might be mine. My parents are overjoyed. They contacted me right away. Now they are saying this changes everything. This is a sign we have to reunite for the baby. They said it's God's will. They are pushing even harder for me to support Sarah, and by extension, Tom. They say Tom will be a great Uncle Dad, or something ridiculous. They want me to stop the divorce. They want me to let Sarah and Tom move back into my house, for the baby's sake. My head is reeling. A baby, if it's mine. I always wanted to be a father, but not like this, not with her, and certainly not with Tom and my parents involved in this twisted way. My lawyer states we need a paternity test. Of course. I agreed. Sarah has evidently agreed too. She maintains it's mine. The dilemma is, my parents are making my life hell. They are contacting my workplace. They are contacting my friends. They are informing everyone I'm abandoning my pregnant wife, soon-to-be ex-wife, and my child. They are portraying me as the villain. They are insisting I provide for their new family unit, as they call it, which means Sarah, the baby, and Tom. They want me to give them money, a place to live, everything. They say if I don't, they will ensure everyone knows what a horrible person I am. Tom has been sending me threatening texts. Things like, you'll pay for this, and that baby needs a real home. I'm not going to reunite with Sarah. That's out of the question. The divorce will continue. But what do I do about this? About my parents? About Tom? If the baby is mine, I know I have a responsibility, but I don't want these people in my life. My parents think I should forgive and forget, and just open my wallet and my home to all of them. They think I should let Tom play dad to my kid while I pay the bills. Am I wrong to want to cut them all off as much as possible? Even if it means a huge fight, I just feel so stuck and angry. Any advice on how to handle my parents and this whole financial demand, especially with a baby possibly in the picture? Update 1. Hi, everyone. It's been roughly 2 months since my initial post. First, thank you for all the comments and messages. I read a lot of them. Many of you shared similar stories or just offered support. It helped to know I wasn't crazy for feeling the way I did. Many of you requested additional details regarding the confrontation and my parents' conduct. I'll attempt to clarify some matters. Numerous individuals inquired if Tom genuinely injured himself when he fell. No, his arm wasn't broken. He sustained a bruise. He visited the doctor the following day. My parents likely compelled him to build a case or elicit sympathy, and it was merely a severe sprain. He wore a sling for a week for theatrical effect. Some inquired if Sarah spoke anything to defend herself during the confrontation. Not truly. She cried extensively and uttered, "I'm sorry," a few times. When Tom lunged at me, she shouted, "Tom, no!" However, she didn't attempt to physically restrain him. After he fell, her focus was entirely on him. When I instructed them to pack, she simply nodded and assisted Tom. It was evident her allegiance was with him. Concerning my parents, their effort to portray me as the villain intensified. They contacted my supervisor. My supervisor is a sensible man and knows me well, so he heard my perspective and essentially instructed my parents to cease harassing his employee. They dispatched a lengthy email to my aunt and uncle, my father's brother, depicting me as a monster. My aunt actually telephoned me and I explained the entire story. She was appalled by my parents and Tom's conduct and has been supportive of me. That was one minor positive development. A frequent piece of counsel was to secure a truly excellent lawyer. I possess one. He's very straightforward and practical. He's been a steadfast support. He was the one who advocated for the paternity test to be conducted through official procedures. No home kits. After reading comments and talking to my lawyer, I grew more determined. Your support helped me realize their demands were insane. My parents' argument that I should support Tom because he is with Sarah and my potential child made no sense. Tom is an adult. He made his choices. Sarah made hers. The main thing I considered was the baby. If the child was mine, I knew I wanted to be in its life. But I also knew I couldn't let my parents, Tom, or even Sarah, use the child to control or manipulate me. The comments about parental alienation were frightening. I knew I had to be proactive. My lawyer advised me to document everything. I began a log. The decision was clear. 1. Confirm paternity. 2. If the child is mine, contend for full custody when the child is born, or at least primary custody with very strict boundaries for Sarah, and no access or influence from Tom and my parents regarding my relationship with my child. 3. Completely cut off my parents and Tom financially and emotionally. Burn every bridge they thought they could use. 4. Finalize the divorce as quickly as possible. Following those decisions, my actions were quite clear. The paternity test was scheduled. It was a tense appointment. Sarah was present. Tom waited outside, pacing like a confined animal. My parents also appeared and attempted to speak with me in the waiting room. I disregarded them. I simply looked straight ahead. My lawyer had cautioned me not to engage with them. Sarah appeared stressed. She said in a hushed tone, "It's yours. I'm sure it is." I offered no response. The results returned after 2 weeks. My lawyer contacted me. The baby is mine. A surge of something washed over me, not joy, not exactly sadness, just a heavy feeling, a responsibility. This was genuine. I was going to be a father. My lawyer commenced preparing all the required documents to file for full custody right after the child's birth. Once paternity was legally verified, we officially informed Sarah's lawyer of our steadfast intention to pursue full custody once the baby was born. We explicitly detailed our reasons: Sarah's adultery, her current unstable living situation, living with my parents, dependent on Tom, who is unemployed, Tom's aggressive behavior. I had records of his threatening texts and the incident where he attacked me, and my parents' manipulative and harassing behavior. We clarified that we believed these elements rendered her incapable of offering a stable and healthy environment, contrasting this with my stable home, good job, and supportive network. The next step was severing connections. My parents telephoned me, weeping and shouting when they learned of our declared intention to file for custody and the reasons why. My father said, "How dare you intend to remove her baby after everything you've done?" I said, "It is also my baby, and I will not permit that child to be raised amidst the chaos you've all generated. We will be filing as soon as the baby is born. My mother screamed that I was an unnatural son, a monster, she stated. You will regret this. Tom will be a father to that child. He already loves it, I replied. Tom will have no legal rights and will keep away from my child. And so will you, if you persist in this manner. Then I informed them that I would no longer be accepting their calls. I conveyed to them that any communication concerning crucial family matters, such as health emergencies of other relatives not involved, should be channeled through my aunt. For anything pertaining to the baby and the impending legal actions, Sarah's lawyer could reach out to my lawyer. I informed them I was blocking their numbers, and I did. I dispatched a cease and desist letter to Tom via my lawyer, cautioning him that any additional threats or harassment would be reported to the police and utilized in the subsequent custody case. His response was an irate voicemail. He telephoned from a friend's device, filled with expletives and asserting I wouldn't escape this and that he'd confront me in court. My lawyer retained it as further evidence of his unsuitable character. I also altered my phone number. Only a select few possess the new one. I notified my bank about the situation in the event my parents or Tom attempted anything improper. I transferred my primary accounts to a new bank. I clarified to my extended family through my aunt that I was no longer in communication with my parents or Tom, and I briefly explained the reasons. Most were shocked, but comprehended, though I no longer care. Sarah, via her lawyer, responded to the custody filing. She is contending for primary custody naturally. She asserts she will secure her own residence and employment. She states Tom is supportive and will assist her. She also claimed I was never home, and that's why she sought comfort from Tom. Her lawyer is attempting to portray me as an absent husband, now trying to be an excessively controlling father. The court mandated a temporary arrangement. Since the baby isn't born yet, this primarily concerns planning. We must attend mediation for custody. The judge reviewed the initial evidence, such as Tom's threats and my parents' harassment, and issued a temporary restraining order prohibiting Tom from having any contact with me, and a stern warning to my parents regarding their interference, to be re-evaluated once the baby is born, and a more permanent custody plan is determined. My parents are enraged. My aunt informed me they are distraught. They cannot believe I actually severed ties with them. They tried to enlist other family members to pressure me, but my aunt is running interference and instructing them to back off. Sarah is reportedly very stressed. Her lawyer is urging her to appear stable, so she's supposedly searching for a job and an apartment. I doubt Tom is helping. He's likely making it worse. He's probably raging about the restraining order and his inability to reach me. The divorce is still moving forward. It's messy, it's expensive, it's exhausting. The last talk I had straight with Sarah was her lawyer, setting up a quick call. She was crying. She said, "Mark, please, don't do this. Don't take my baby. I know I messed up. I'm so sorry, but he's all I have left." I told her, "This is not about what you have left, Sarah. This is about what's best for my child, and that is not being around Tom or my parents' toxic games. We'll allow the court to decide." She began to plead, but I finished the call. I must be strong. I cannot allow her feelings to influence me. The house is quiet now. I'm concentrating on getting ready for the baby as much as possible. I'm also getting ready for a very nasty battle in court. I know they'll attempt every dishonest tactic. But I'm ready. I'm uncertain what the future brings. But I know I won't be a doormat anymore. I won't allow them to walk all over me or exploit my child. Update 2. It's been almost 2.5 since my last update. Much has occurred. The baby, a boy named Daniel, was born about 10 months ago. The baby, a boy named Daniel, was born about a year ago. As planned, the instant he was born and his birth legally recorded, my lawyer submitted our petition for full legal and primary physical custody. The legal struggles that ensued were as bad as I anticipated, perhaps worse. The divorce itself concluded about a year ago. It was fairly simple in the end since we didn't have many shared assets, and the house was premarital. The adultery clause, along with my video evidence, weakened her stance for seeking any spousal support, which she attempted at one point, probably influenced by Tom and my parents. The custody fight for Daniel was brutal. Sarah's lawyer, predictably, argued strongly that since Daniel was a newborn and Sarah planned to breastfeed, she ought to have primary physical custody for at least the initial few years. They attempted to portray me as a work-focused, emotionally distant man who would be an unsuitable single parent, and that removing a newborn from his mother would be harmful. They mentioned how much I traveled for work in the past. They attempted to claim I was vindictive. My lawyer was outstanding. We countered by stressing that while breastfeeding was a factor, the primary concern was Daniel's safety, stability, and long-term welfare. We presented all the proof, the videos of the affair, demonstrating her poor judgment and deception, Tom's threatening messages, his aggressive conduct, including the new contempt charge he received for an outburst in court during a preliminary hearing, the recorded voicemail, my parents' constant harassment and their efforts to undermine my role as a father. We had a child psychologist offer expert testimony on the potential harm to a child, raised in an unstable environment, with individuals like Tom and my parents wielding influence. The psychologist also described how a secure attachment could be formed with a father offering primary care, and how breastfeeding could be facilitated through visitation and express milk if Sarah was cooperative and stable. The court proceedings were lengthy and exhausting. Sarah would frequently break down in tears. Tom would be in the courtroom gallery, scowling until his contempt charge restricted his presence. My parents were there daily, looking at me with hatred. They attempted to approach me multiple times in the hallways, but my lawyer always intervened. The judge considered Sarah's arguments about newborn care seriously, but was equally, if not more, troubled by the overwhelming evidence of instability and potential harm. Initially, the judge was reluctant to completely separate a newborn from his mother if she was willing to breastfeed, so the court mandated a highly conditional, temporary step-up plan for the first 3 months. Sarah would have primary physical care of Daniel only if she fulfilled extremely strict conditions. 1, she had to obtain and maintain stable, independent housing away from Tom and my parents within 2 weeks. This housing needed to be approved by a court-appointed social worker. 2, Tom was to have absolutely no contact with Daniel or Sarah, and a restraining order was strengthened. 3, my parents were also to have no interaction with Daniel, and their communication with Sarah was to be minimal and not include Daniel or diminish my role. 4, Sarah was required to attend compulsory parenting classes, individual therapy, and fully cooperate with a social worker for home visits. 5, I was given very regular, generous visitation, including overnight as Daniel grew a bit older, to encourage bonding. I was to be included in all medical choices. Child support for me was set up. This was Sarah's opportunity to show she could offer a stable environment. She succeeded in finding a small apartment. However, inside the first month, it grew evident she could not or would not fulfill all conditions. Sarah's opportunity to show she could offer a stable environment. She succeeded in finding a small apartment. However, inside the first month, it grew evident she could not or would not fulfill all conditions. The social worker noted that my parents were often at her apartment, despite the cautions. There was an occurrence where Tom was observed near her apartment, a distinct breach. Sarah skipped therapy sessions. She found it difficult to cope by herself, and it was evident she was still greatly swayed by Tom and my parents, who were probably informing her the court's terms were unjust. My lawyer requested an emergency review. After examining the social worker's reports and learning of Tom's breach, the judge determined that Sarah was incapable of shielding Daniel from the detrimental influences or offering the necessary stability, even with court assistance. The provisional order was canceled. Ultimately, after this unsuccessful trial period, I received sole legal custody and primary physical custody of Daniel. The judge referred to Sarah's failure to abide by the conditional order, her persistent poor judgment, her absence of stable, independent functioning, the continuous danger presented by Tom, and the disruptive impact of my parents. The judge declared that while maternal bonding for a newborn is significant, it cannot occur at the cost of the child's safety and exposure to a chaotic, unhealthy setting. Sarah receives supervised visits. The oversight is performed by a professional service, at her cost. This was a crucial point my lawyer contended for and secured. This aims to guarantee Daniel's safety and to stop her from being pressured by Tom or my parents while she is with him. At first, it was twice a week for several hours. She could breastfeed Daniel during these visits if she desired. She must adhere to stringent regulations. No Tom, no my parents. If she breaches the conditions, she forfeits visitation. Regarding Tom, the restraining order I obtained against him was made more enduring concerning contact with me and Daniel. He is not to approach within 500 feet of me, my residence, my place of work, or Daniel's daycare. His documented threats, his outburst in court leading to a contempt charge, and his breach of the conditions surrounding Sarah's temporary care arrangement pretty much determined his future concerning any future claims about him being a responsible guardian. My parents are entirely estranged. After the final custody ruling, they tried to relay messages through my aunt, saying I had wrecked the family and abducted their grandchild after orchestrating Sarah's failure. My aunt told them I wanted no communication. They even tried appearing at my home one time. I had a new security system featuring cameras throughout the property. I called the police, and they were issued a warning for trespassing. They haven't tried again. I hear from my aunt that they are resentful and furious. They accuse me of everything. They inform everyone willing to listen how I've wronged them. My relationship with them is non-existent. It's a strange feeling, like a weight is gone, but there's also an empty space. It's a strange feeling, like a weight is gone, but there's also an empty space. I've established a routine with Daniel. Being a single dad is hard, far tougher than I envisioned, but he is a marvelous little boy. He's healthy, happy. I modified my work schedule. I now work remotely 3 days a week, and I have an excellent nanny for the days I attend the office. My aunt is an enormous assistance. She cherishes Daniel and visits frequently. She acts as a grandmother to him. Sarah has been participating in her supervised visits. According to the supervisor's reports, which my lawyer receives, she is typically quiet and sorrowful. She interacts with Daniel. She wept when it was time for her to depart. She attempted to breastfeed during visits for the initial few months, but ultimately ceased. I believe it was too challenging emotionally for her under supervision. She has seemingly secured a part-time position at a grocery store. She continues to reside in that modest apartment with a roommate, not Tom. I learned through rumor, my aunt heard from another relative, that her connection with Tom entirely shattered after she lost primary care of Daniel, and he understood no money or advantages would come from her having the baby. He accused her of ruining the arrangement. There was seemingly a massive argument, and my parents eventually expelled Tom after he also became aggressive with them when they refused to give him more funds. The latest I heard, Tom is staying with various friends and remains jobless. He still attempts to speak ill of me online using false profiles, but my lawyer has addressed some of those as harassment. I began attending therapy to cope with the anger and the treachery. It offers some assistance. Primarily, I concentrate on Daniel. He's my top priority. My life is quite different now. I don't date. I don't have much of a social life, but I have my son. Many thanks to everyone who read my story and offered support and advice at that time. It meant a lot during a very dark period. The drama isn't completely finished. I'm sure Sarah will attempt to change the custody agreement eventually, but I will handle it when the time arrives. That's all I can do. Goodbye. But that's nothing compared to the next story. My friend Marie, who is also 23, was like a sister to me. We had known each other since we were 4. We were partners in crime. We knew everything about each other. We even decided to become godmothers to each other's future children. When I was 17, I started dating Lucas, a guy from my neighborhood. He was also the son of my father's friend. That's how we met. I had a crush on him since I was 15. Marie knew about it. In fact, she was the one who urged me to talk to him. She encouraged me to ask him out, and I did. We began dating at 17. Everything was going well. I thought I had found my soulmate. But I noticed something different when we were in our 4th year of our relationship. He acted somewhat distant. I thought the pressure from university was stressing him out. I tried to cheer him up and attempted to be intimate, but he would just brush it off. At one point, I accidentally looked at his phone while I was trying to make a call. I came across hundreds of messages between him and Marie. They had also sent each other nudes. I felt truly disgusted. I couldn't confront him because I knew he would deny it. Then one day I went to his house to surprise him. There I saw Marie and Lucas, almost naked on the couch. They were probably in the middle of foreplay when I walked in. They were both shocked to see me, as if they had seen a ghost. I cannot explain the rage I was feeling. I felt like I was about to faint. Instead, I went outside. They both tried to chase me down with the classic, "It's not what it looks like." "Oh, really? You're naked, cuddling and kissing each other's faces. I wonder what that could be." Luckily, my sister, who saw me arrive, was with me. I asked her to drive me home. Once there, I cried with my 2 sisters. I shared everything with them. They were very understanding. They inquired if I had screenshots. I confirmed that I did. They advised me to keep them and also to message both him and my friend, telling them we were over. I followed their advice. Following my sister's counsel, I informed all our mutual friends about the situation. It was chaotic. I felt shattered and devastated. I would cry constantly and couldn't eat. I had been betrayed by my best friend and the love of my life. Yet somehow Marie's betrayal hurt the most. After delving into the drama that unfolded, I discovered how truly disgusting and vile Lucas was. I can't list everything here due to the word limit. I realized he had so many red flags that I had ignored. That somewhat helped me to heal. Lucas also came to my house a few times, but my sister warned him that if he continued to bother us, she would call the police. My father was aware of all this and was very supportive. I didn't want him to end his friendship with Lucas's dad, but Lucas could no longer be in our house. I refused to be in the same room as him. It took some time, but I healed. I did lose many friends because some sided with Marie, but I still had 2 good friends who genuinely helped me. Additionally, I was very grateful to have 2 amazing sisters. I went out with my friends, started working out, and some forums even helped me. I stayed away from dating for a year. I am currently happy and in a relationship with someone. I thought I had put the whole thing behind me, but my mom keeps insisting I forgive Marie. You see, Marie's mom and my mom are really good friends. After I told my mom about Marie's betrayal, she was supportive but also sad that she might have to stop talking to her friend. I told her not to. Regardless of what Marie did, her mom is very sweet. She even apologized on her behalf. I was never rude to her when she came home, but Marie is also not allowed in our house. Now, my mom thinks I should forgive her. She always says to Marie's mom that they wish things went back to the way they were. My mom kept pushing that I forgive her and not ruin our friendship over a stupid boy. I mean, why should I? She knows I hate people who betray and cheat. Yet she did it behind my back. She claims just because I am in a relationship, I should just forget. Otherwise, I will become a bitter person. My sisters are on my side. My father says the decision is up to me. I don't know what I will do. Yes, I do miss what Marie and I had, but I still haven't forgiven her for what she did. It just hurts knowing my mom wants me to forgive after knowing everything that has happened. Just to add more context. 1. Marie and Lucas hooked up on her birthday when she broke up with her ex. She did tell me she is sorry and things just happened. She felt lonely, and he was there to offer comfort. 2. If you're wondering what Lucas did and why he had red flags, it's because he criticized me often. It was either about my appearance or my aspirations. I once mentioned I wanted to write a book, and he ridiculed me. I dismissed it, thinking he had a dark sense of humor. 3. Lucas maintained a spreadsheet of all the girls we knew in our social circle. Even at his university, he would rank them based on their appearance. It was circulated among his friends. Yes, I was also on that list. It made me feel very insecure. 4. Some of our mutual friends, both mine and Marie's, were aware of their affair but concealed it from me. That's why I cut ties with a great many of them. Update 1. A few days ago, when I first posted this, many people requested an update. So here it is. I realized I couldn't allow Marie in my life, regardless of what my mom says. However, something unusual occurred that compelled me to post an update. This will be a lengthy one. So I returned home this week. My elder sister was already present. She informed me that my mom intended to invite Marie and her mom to our house. My dad declined, as he didn't want to betray me. I was upset with my mom for how she could do such a thing to me. We all sat together. I explained to my mom how it felt to be betrayed by my friend. I informed her that I wasn't asking her to stop seeing Marie's mom, but she needed to cease pressuring me to be friends with her. It simply won't happen. Even if I were to forgive her, I would not be her friend. She will not be welcome in our home. She got mad and said we should learn to let go of the past. I also asked her, what if Marie's mom had an affair with Dad, and you walked in on them while they were doing it? I expected her to be mad, but her expression was shocking. I don't know how to describe it. It was as if I had predicted something. My dad stepped in and said, you should tell her now. She is old enough to know. Then I learned the entire history of Mom, Dad, and Marie's mom. Marie's mom was a serial cheater. She cheated on her ex-husband with several men. My mom was unaware. She did have clues, but never confronted her. Apparently, she became pregnant with the AP's baby and attempted to pass it off as Marie's father's. But Marie's father was smart. He conducted a DNA test on the baby, Marie's half-brother, and the truth was revealed. My mom did scold her for that, but Marie's mom was very remorseful. She pleaded and begged with her husband to remain, but her husband did not. I looked up the guy on social media, and he is filthy rich. Probably Batman kind of rich, without all the gadgets. He engaged a lawyer and also had a prenup. Marie's mom did not receive a single dime for alimony, but he did pay child support for a period. He did not want custody because Marie technically knew about her mother's affair, but did not say anything. Marie was 7 when it occurred. She would always speak about her dad, number 2. I was never aware, likely because I assumed she was referring to her uncle or something. Marie's dad only received the visitation rights he desired. However, Marie ceased going when she reached 15. My mom assisted her in recovering because she was penniless, and Marie's child support only covered her, not the entire family. 3 years following their divorce, Marie's dad remarried someone younger than Marie's mom. I also looked up his name and observed that he was content with his new family. Thus, the day he wed, Marie's mom fell into a deep depression. She was extremely inebriated, and that bitch tried to make a move on my dad. My dad pushed her away. My dad informed my mom, but she denied anything of the sort occurred, until Marie's mom phoned and apologized for her conduct. She forgave her. However, based on my dad and older sister, she would still invent reasons to get closer to Dad. My sisters dedicated their time to keeping her away from Dad. Dad never favored her due to her actions. Her husband was my dad's business associate at that period. Dad only endured her for Mom's and my benefit. So, returning to our discussion, I gazed at my mom, and she stated that it was distinct because my dad never had an affair. I inquired if she would have pardoned her if the affair had occurred. She remained quiet. I requested her to provide me with a genuine reason why she believes I ought to forgive Marie. Then she revealed the truth to me. Marie's mom has been sort of blackmailing Mom to cut off contact with her. My mom doesn't possess many friends in town. Marie's mom served as her closest friend. Based on her reasoning, she cannot be in a home where her daughter is not welcomed. As I mentioned in one of the comments, my mom had a miscarriage when I was 4 years old. Marie's mom helped her a lot during that time. When my mom was jaded, she would clean her house and bring Marie. That's how we became friends. My mom pretty much saw Marie as her fourth child. She was probably trying to fill the space that her miscarriage left. So losing Marie felt like losing her baby again. That's why she wants us to reconcile. Not because of Marie, but also because she is afraid her friendship will come to an end. I was very upset by it, but I understood her. I told her Marie's mom is welcome here any time, though I have no respect for her now. But Marie will not set foot in this house, and told her to get therapy, because she had a very unhealthy attachment to Marie. I was conflicted. I was disappointed in Marie's mom. She seemed like a really nice lady. When Lucas cheated on me, I remember crying to her. She consoled me and felt genuinely sorry. So I did something quite unexpected. I messaged Marie's mom, suggesting we meet privately. We chose a public spot. My sister was aware. She advised me to record our talk. That's not against the law where we are. So I met with her. I shared with her everything my mother had shared with me. I also let her know she's welcome at our home, but Marie cannot come along. She didn't attempt to argue. She mentioned she should have realized. She never wished for her daughter to turn out like her. Her unfaithfulness had made her life miserable. Marie might have had a wonderful upbringing if she hadn't betrayed her husband. Her husband was a truly good person. She still carries guilt over what she did to him. She yearns to go back in time and reverse her error. I stated that while I don't hold the same level of respect for her, I wouldn't mind her presence. My family is fine with that arrangement. The woman began to weep. She finally revealed the truth after an entire year. She confessed she was aware of Marie and Lucas. She knew Lucas was being unfaithful to me with Marie. She instructed her daughter to end it, but Marie claimed she was merely FWB with Lucas, and that they would cease in a few weeks. Her mother warned her that if she persisted, she had better hide it effectively. She only permitted this because she was aware her daughter had an obsession with Lucas. She believed it would assist M in moving past this fixation. I was absolutely furious. I wanted to shout, but I maintained my composure. She knew all this time and never once brought it up. I then questioned her about her flirting with my father. It was then she truly revealed her deceitful nature. I pushed her and reprimanded her for attempting to ruin my mom's marriage. When she'd had enough, she shouted that my mom didn't merit any of this. She's quite dull and uninteresting. She was only friends with her out of pity. My mom hails from a modest household. She lacks much education. She attended a poorly funded college, whereas Marie's mom went to a prestigious one. She isn't even on Marie's mom's level. She declared my dad didn't deserve a street rat like her. I wished to leave, but I wanted to capture everything on the recording. But I'd had enough. I told her, or rather yelled at her, that she wasn't welcome in our home. She's a liar and a betrayer, and so is her daughter. I couldn't believe this woman. She had been manipulating my mom this entire time. The moment I arrived home, I informed my mom of everything. My mom declined to believe her friend would utter such things. My sister, who was an absolute genius, played the audio. I now understood why she had told me to record. After listening to the whole thing, she seized her phone and called her. She screamed. I could make out words like slut, whore, or their equivalents in our native language. She declared that if she ever saw her again, she would tear her eyes out. It was somewhat shocking. One moment she was praising her, and the next she was screaming. More importantly, however, I'm glad she severed all that toxicity. I feel sorry for Mom. I can relate, as we both lost our close friends. We sat and conversed. She shared with me how being a Somme made it hard for her to form friendships. M was her dear friend. She had always admired her because she was quite well known in our community. She aspired to be like her. My father had always disliked that. My mom also expressed her apologies to me, admitting that she had been self-centered. She had enabled her to such an extent that she ended up harming her own daughter. She feels remorseful. I comprehend her feelings. My dad mentioned that he is arranging therapy for her, as she clearly carries some trauma from her miscarriage and also from her early life. I assured her that she can still cultivate wonderful friendships. She had distanced herself from all her friends for Marie's mom. I suggested she attempt to reconnect with them. I'm also planning to spend some time with her so she doesn't feel isolated. All this turmoil has led me to recognize what an excellent father I have. I hold a fresh sense of esteem for him. Even in his moments of vulnerability, he never succumbed to Marie's mother's flirtations. He supported my mom after her C-section with me. He grasps that being a Som is tough. He loves her nonetheless. Many people wondered if my mom was unfaithful, but let me clarify, that is not true. She is extremely devoted to my dad. As the eldest of 7 siblings, she had to maintain her family's unity at any cost. Therefore, her urging me to forgive Marie. Additionally, regarding my ex, he messaged me on my birthday last month. He extended happy birthday wishes and expressed regret for his actions. He also mentioned that Marie is a wonderful girlfriend who supported him following our split and aided his recovery. There was a whole section of him commending Marie. And to quote him, "I do not regret loving you. It is because of you I learned how to love. That's why I'm able to become such a good partner to Marie. I hope someday you will find someone good enough for you. I wish you all the best." What a clown. I presented this to my boyfriend. He chuckled and remarked, "I guess his wish has come true." I couldn't care less if they marry or have 100 babies. I am finished with them. Someone observed that they actually did a great service, as they're both worthless and deserve one another. It's true. At least they won't be squandering anyone else's time with their toxicity. As for me, I am doing fine. I am arranging a trip with my boyfriend and friends after my finals. And thanks to all of you who sent messages and left comments. Also, I'd say this counts as karma. But Marie got into a fight with one of her friends who knew about the affair. My friend went to a party this week. She informed me Marie and a friend of hers had a disagreement. Apparently, that friend charged her with taking her boyfriend. According to my friend, they weren't doing anything beyond talking. The girl approached them and said, "Well, I should have known, given your history as a man-stealer." This is now her reputation. Even when she attempted to claim she wasn't flirting, nobody believed her. Well. Update 2, just a brief summary. My boyfriend Lucas cheated on me with my best friend Marie, whom I've known since I was 4. Many people in my social circle were aware of it. It sparked some conflict and also brought many family secrets to light, particularly within my own family. Nothing too thrilling, really. Nearly 2 years have passed since then, and looking back, I've made significant progress. Therefore, I simply wanted to share my reflections. D-Day, I suppose. I discovered their illicit activities when I found her nudes on his phone. I struggled to accept it. The very day I went to confront them was the day I witnessed them almost naked, engaged in foreplay. It simply left me feeling numb, as if it were a terrible dream. The 2 people closest to me, my best friend whom I trusted with all my heart, who had supported me through every difficulty and low point in my life, and the man I believed would be my soulmate. I genuinely believed we would be one of those couples, like high school sweethearts, who would live together for the remainder of their lives. Indeed, that was my foolishness. Trusting him and imagining life was a fairy tale. When I saw them together, they appeared stunned, as though they had seen a ghost. I uttered nothing. I simply went outside, got into the car, and instructed my sister to drive. Once we arrived home, I wept as if a loved one had just passed away. Everything I had ever believed felt like a lie. My entire relationship seemed like a falsehood. I had no clue what my next step would be. Fortunately, I had my sister, who offered me comfort. I was jilted. I lost my appetite. The image of them naked and kissing just replayed in my mind like a broken record. I wished I could switch off my brain so I wouldn't think about it. I remained like that for the initial few months. It felt as though they were mocking me. Ha 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 ha. Look at the foolish one who would disappoint. She has no clue what we're doing. She is so foolish. Why did he act that way? Was I never sufficient for him? I did everything for him. I was never an annoying girlfriend. Even his friends were fond of me. Were all those 4 years a falsehood? All those instances he told me he loved me? The times he would praise me, was it all untrue? I kept discovering flaws in myself. There must have been something I did. So anyway, I blocked both of them from everything. They attempted to reach out to me. I pushed them away because I wasn't prepared. If I saw either of them, I would likely just commit a felony or something worse. It required some time, but I felt I needed to achieve my closure. So I did reach out to them individually. I met Marie initially. She claimed she was sorry and wished to end things, but Lucas continued to pursue her. Her justification was that she had broken up with her boyfriend and subsequently got involved with Lucas because she felt isolated. Yes, you destroyed my relationship because you felt lonely. What a great friend you turned out to be. Lucas's explanation was what devastated me further. He did express his apologies, but this is where I made a mistake. I inquired of him, was she superior to me in bed? His answer was affirmative. He additionally informed me that sleeping with me was quite uninspired. I lacked BOOBS, almost as if I were a boy. I admit I am a late bloomer. I am quite slender for my age. He mentioned I was more attractive than Marie, but less daring than she was. This sparked an entirely new insecurity within me. I began to despise my body. I ceased looking in the mirror. I nearly vowed I would become a nun and never engage in sex. Indeed, I was in a difficult spot. I felt utterly worthless, to put it mildly. I lost all self-confidence. I mean, who desires to be with someone who is poor in bed? Red flags I overlooked. I only became aware of his warning signs after our breakup. At a certain point, he began to withdraw. He was constantly on his phone. He never initiated intimacy, and whenever I tried, he would push me away. All in all, he was a terrible individual. He would rarely answer my calls when he was with her. Furthermore, he would ridicule me. I am pursuing a career in computer science. He joked on certain occasions that I would never succeed because this field isn't for women. I laughed because I believed they were jokes. He also joked about how my desire to write a book someday was so stupid and unrealistic. He would comment on my body. I started gaining weight because of my health condition. He would make remarks about my body. I started gaining weight because of my health condition. He would criticize me for that too. I also noticed him checking on other girls too. I'd say this counts as a red flag, but he had a lot of female friends. He would say they were his best friends. I always found that suspicious. I don't know why. After breaking up with him, I realized how he was to me. I was always the one trying to make efforts for him. He once forgot my birthday and offered an excuse that he was busy at work. In reality, he just forgot. I didn't say anything because he compensated for it in the most mediocre way. How I moved on. I cried for many days. I remember that getting out of bed was truly hard. I lost a friend and a boyfriend. Moreover, I lost a good social circle because they knew about their affair and didn't tell me. I had a large group of friends, and now I was left with 2. They are good people. But it hurts when I don't have my best friend, with whom I shared almost everything. Guys, it's okay to mourn the relationship you lost. Give yourself the time to grieve. Don't take any huge steps during this period. Go ahead and cry and moan into your pillow. Eat whatever junk you want. But give it a time limit. I know that doesn't always happen. However, my sister told me to grieve for 2 months like this, and then get my ass back in the real world. I agree, it took longer than 2 months, but after 2 months, I had to decide if I needed to function, whether I was ready or not. I tried to shift my focus from everything and onto my studies. Even that was hard. I couldn't. I still cried a lot. I would zone out while doing something, thinking about all the wild sex they must be having. I went to therapy. It helped to an extent. I didn't date for about a year. I used that time to better myself. I learned how to code. I learned how to play keyboard. It was a good distraction from everything. I also joined a gym because I was gaining weight. My sisters and those two of my friends took me on a trip to the beach. We had a lot of fun. A change of environment was nice. I grew much closer to those two friends I hardly spoke to in the past, and apologized for not being a good friend. I was healing slowly. I got rid of every memory I had of him. I burned the bridges. I tried to rediscover myself. Lucas did come and said he wanted to work things out. I guess Marie wasn't what he thought she was. I was tempted to take him back. Engel, he was out of my league. But my sister handled it. She told him never to show his face. Otherwise, she would call the police. I was on different forums asking for advice. I met some nice people who found better partners after being cheated on. That gave a bit of hope. I didn't engage in flings and ons. I tried it once, but it made me feel more empty inside. So I never did that. Eventually, when I felt ready after a year, I started dating someone new. Now we are together. Please don't do these. 1. Don't think their cheating is your fault. 2. Don't go to social media to stalk them. I made that mistake. Seeing Marie and Lucas post intimate, cute photos just felt like a bullet in my heart. I was tempted, so I unblocked them to see what they were up to. Seeing them kissing and hugging just put me in the same pit. 3. Don't compare yourself to others. I compared myself to Marie a lot. Just because someone looks different from you doesn't mean they are better. 4. Don't do the pick-me dance. Honestly, have some self-respect and don't be a doormat. I know cheaters insult you to make you insecure, but remember, whatever a cheater says is a lie. So their perception of you is a lie. My uncle was cheated on by his wife multiple times. He gave her 2 second chances. She still left him broken. Now he drowns himself in alcohol. Cheaters don't deserve a second chance. 5. Don't take them back. Like, ever. They are like a tumor that will suck the life out of you. 6. Don't do anything stupid, like violence or deleting evidence. Honestly, this is more crucial for people who are married. Don't destroy evidence you have of them. Use them. 7. Don't date if you are not ready yet. 8. Don't let them control the narrative. 9. Do not believe your life is finished and your time was wasted. I know this goes against almost everyone's beliefs, but I learned a lot from this ordeal. I learned who my true friends are and what red flags to avoid. The process of rebuilding myself from this wreckage made me a better person. 10. Do not consume alcohol. I swear this is the worst thing you can do. Do not use any intoxicating substances to forget the pain. Forgetting the pain for a short moment is not the same thing as healing. Alcohol and drugs will not heal you. They will destroy you. Things I learned about myself. After getting into a new relationship, I discovered that I was not bad at sex. He was poor at communicating. I realized sex with Lucas felt somewhat robotic. Even if I would orgasm, it just felt meh. However, my new boyfriend is better at communicating with me. We share our thoughts about intimacy, our likes and dislikes. I realized that I might not be so bad at sex after all. I simply had a poor partner. It is nice to have someone who truly listens and teaches you a few tricks. I realized how much better I deserved, that the world I imagined with Lucas was nothing. It was all a sham. I also learned never to doubt myself or think I am less than someone. Honestly, that was a challenging part. I am still insecure, but I am working on it. I learned about my true potential. Lucas nearly persuaded me I was too stupid to be good at anything, but I am good at multiple things after exploring many hobbies. I also learned therapy is incredibly effective if you find a good therapist. I had a poor one who was always criticizing me. After I switched to a good one, it worked wonders for my mental health. I was doubting myself less. What I learned about cheaters, they are deeply insecure people. Nothing you ever do is going to be good enough for them. Everything they say is a lie. They tried to manipulate the situation by saying monogamy is not a norm in nature. Yeah, Lucas tried to use that on me. Everything they say is a lie. It's better to just ignore them and pretend they are dead. When cheaters are faced with their actions, they invariably deny and gaslight, trying to shift the blame. Remember, this is their strategy to win against you. Don't let them win. They are selfish. They think they deserve the world. Their reality begins to shatter when you expose them publicly. They try to control the narrative. They try to make themselves look good. To them, you are a plan B. Don't be with someone who views you as a plan B. Sorry for this long post. I hope whoever reads this, I simply want to say, it gets better. It's not your fault that they cheated on you. It's just their nature to be disgusting. Also, I observe many married individuals who remain with their unfaithful partners for the sake of their children. I advise against this. You are imparting a very harmful lesson to your children, that they should simply settle for someone else's remnants and an unfaithful person. You are instructing them that it is acceptable to cheat, because those who cheat face no repercussions. For your own mental well-being, it is detrimental. If you are not in a healthy mental state, you cannot be an effective parent either. I witnessed firsthand how attempts at reconciliation fail disastrously. Therefore, I would not recommend it. I hope you all are doing well and coping effectively. I hope you discover peace in your everyday life. This next one will make your jaw drop. Hello everyone, I need to put all of this down. I'm 21 now. This, I suppose, began a long time ago. My mother became ill with cancer and passed away when I was 6. It was just my father and I then. My mother's parents, my grandparents, were a great help. They were very kind to me. To make things simpler, they purchased a house so we could all live together. My father, myself, and them. I discovered later, much later, that they placed the house in my name. It was, in essence, mine, but held in a trust arrangement. They never informed me back then. I was only a child. 5 years after my mother passed away, when I was 11, my father remarried. Her name is Karen. She had 2 children from her previous marriage. Her son, Ron, was 15 then. Her daughter, Kyrie, was 11, just like me. When Karen first appeared, she seemed pleasant. She smiled frequently, bringing small presents for me. She talked in a soft voice. After she and my father married, she, Ron, and Kyrie moved into the house with us. My father, my grandparents, and myself. Initially, it was fine. A full house, but fine. My grandparents were getting older. Around a year after Karen moved in, my grandfather passed away. Then approximately 2 years following that, my grandmother became very ill, and she also passed away. It was very sad. They were like a second mother and father to me. After my grandmother passed, Karen began to alter things. Or perhaps she was like that previously, but I simply noticed it more. Small things initially. My mother and my grandparents had specific ways we maintained the house. Photographs, small items on shelves, the shade of the living room walls. Karen began altering everything. One afternoon, I returned from school to find the living room painted a different shade, a hue my mother would have disliked. Several of my mother's old photographs had been removed from the wall. I inquired of Karen where they had gone. She replied, "Oh dear, they were so aged and dusty. We need to make this residence our own, a new family dwelling." She smiled, but it didn't feel genuine. I located the pictures in a carton in the garage, beneath some old newspapers. I carried them to my room. Next, it was the mementos. My grandmother owned a small glass bird she cherished. It consistently rested on the kitchen windowsill. One day it had vanished. Karen claimed it must have shattered, and someone discarded it. I knew she was being untruthful. She simply did not wish for it to be present. She began to dispose of anything originating from my mother's side of the family, piece by piece. If I spoke up, she would tell me I was being overly sensitive, or that I was dwelling on the past. My father did not comment much. He always disliked disagreements. Before long, Karen began discussing household tasks. She stated I was mature enough to assist further. I was approximately 13 at that time. I already managed my own laundry and maintained a tidy room. However, she desired more. She created a list. I was required to clean the kitchen following dinner each evening. I had to perform the vacuuming for the entire house on Saturdays. I had to assist with grocery shopping. Ron and Kyrie did not have many tasks. Karen explained Ron was occupied with his studies, being in high school then, and Kyrie was too young for strenuous work, despite Kyrie being my age. As I matured, the situation worsened. By the time I was 16, I was doing most of the cooking. Karen mentioned she was too tired after work. She worked part-time at a store. I also worked part-time after school at a coffee shop. I still had to return home and make dinner for everyone. I handled most of the cleaning, most of the laundry. It seemed like I was the mom of the house, but I was just a kid. Ron finished high school, then went to a nearby college for a bit. He dropped out after a year. He claimed he was going to be an online businessman. He was always on his computer in his room, but I don't believe he made much money. He's 25 now and still lives at home, mostly playing games and talking about his ventures. Kyrie is 21, like me. She attends college, but she got an apartment near her school, mostly with my dad's money. She was hardly ever there, though. She was usually at our house, sleeping late, taking pictures of herself for social media, and buying clothes online with money Karen gave her. My dad paid for her apartment, and Karen often gave her extra money. Karen never asked Ron or Kyrie to do much. If I asked why I had to do everything, Karen would get angry. Her voice would get loud. She'd say, "You live here, don't you? You eat the food, don't you? This is your family. You need to pull your weight." Sometimes she would cry and tell my dad I was being mean to her. My dad would just tell me to try and keep the peace. One time, when I was perhaps 17, I was really sick with the flu. I could barely get out of bed. Karen entered my room and informed me I still needed to prepare dinner. I stated I was unable to. She began shouting that I was being lazy and pretending. She yanked my blankets off me. I recall simply lying there, trembling, while she was screaming. My father came in and instructed her to stop. They had a significant argument. I could hear them shouting in their room for an hour. Karen broke something. I heard it shatter. Later, my father brought me some soup. He appeared exhausted. He didn't mention anything about Karen. On another occasion, Karen discarded a box of my mother's old books. I cherished those books. I discovered them in the outdoor refuse. When I carried them back inside, Karen noticed me. She seized the box and her face reddened. She began tearing the pages out of the books, directly in front of me, screaming that I was fixated on deceased individuals and that I needed to progress. I attempted to retrieve the books, and she shoved me. I stumbled against the wall. My father was at work. Ron and Kyrie simply observed. Ron appeared uninterested. Kyrie recorded it on her phone momentarily, then chuckled and went to her room. I simply gathered the ripped books and returned to my room. I wept a great deal that day. I continued working part-time. I began studying online for a college degree. I simply tried to avoid Karen. I saved my earnings. I wasn't sure what for, just to possess it. Then approximately 2 months ago, Karen approached me. She held a piece of paper in her hand. She appeared very serious, as if she were an office manager. She said, "We need to discuss your contribution to this household." I inquired what she meant. She replied, "Well, you're an adult now. You have employment. It's time you began paying rent. And utilities, naturally." I felt surprised. I asked, "Rent? In this residence?" She confirmed, "Yes, $700 each month, plus a portion of the electricity and water bills. It's only just. Everyone must contribute." I gazed at her. I considered Ron in his room contributing nothing. I considered Kyrie receiving funds for her scarcely used apartment and her purchases, contributing nothing. I questioned, "What about Ron and Kyrie? Are they also paying rent?" Karen's expression shifted. She appeared enraged. "That is none of your concern. Ron is attempting to establish his career. Kyrie is still attending school. She requires our assistance. They are my children, and they are working things out. You possess a consistent part-time job. It is different for you. I simply stated, I need to consider this. She replied, there's nothing to consider. It commences next month. She then departed. That evening I was unable to sleep. It wasn't solely about the money. It was the manner in which she spoke, as if I were a stranger, not kin. It was the injustice of the entire situation. For years I performed every task, and now she also desired money. Something in my mind just clicked. I recalled my grandparents. I recalled them speaking about wishing me to be safe and secure. I abruptly recalled a brief conversation I'd overheard, long ago, after my grandmother passed away. My father and my aunt, my mother's sister, were discussing papers and a trust. I was too young to comprehend it at that time. Thus, the following day, I began searching. My grandparents were highly methodical. They stored all their significant documents in a large lockbox within the study. My father never handled it. Karen likely didn't even realize its presence. I knew where my grandmother kept the key. I located the box. Inside, numerous documents were present. Wills, insurance policies, and then I discovered it. A folder bearing my name. It pertained to the house. It was a legal instrument, a trust. It stated the house was transferred to me upon the passing of my last grandparent, my grandmother. It belonged to me. This entire period, it was my house. Karen and my father had no lawful claim to it. I remained seated there on the study floor with the papers in my hand. I wasn't even certain what emotion to feel. I simply read it, repeatedly. My house. I duplicated every document. I returned the original documents. That evening, I requested my father and Karen to join me in the living room. I did not invite Ron or Kyrie. This concerned the adults first. I remained calm. I merely stated, I've been reviewing some of grandmother's documents regarding the house. My father appeared perplexed. Karen seemed wary. I stated, Grandma and Grandpa bequeathed the house to me. It's held in a trust. It's my house. My father turned pale. He gazed down at his hands. He knew. He knew, and he never informed me. It's in a trust. It's my house. My dad went pale. He looked down at his hands. He knew. He knew, and he never told me. Or perhaps he forgot, or simply wished to avoid dealing with it. Karen laughed and said, Don't be ridiculous. What are you talking about? I showed them the copies of the papers. I explained it simply. Karen's face shifted from angry to shocked. She kept looking at the papers, then at my dad, then at me. She was silent for a minute, which was unusual. Then she said, Well, that's a surprise. Just some old papers. It doesn't really change anything, does it? We are a family? My dad finally spoke. He was very quiet. He said, It's true, Karen. The house is hers. Karen stared at him. Then she looked at me. Her eyes were narrow. She didn't say anything else that night. She just got up and went to her bedroom. My dad followed her. I could hear them arguing, quietly at first, then louder. Karen was screaming. The next day, Karen tried to pretend nothing occurred. She was overly nice to me. It gave me the creeps. But later, I heard her speaking to my dad in the kitchen. She didn't know I was in the laundry room right off the kitchen, and the door was slightly open. She was saying, She's too young to own a house. She needs to be independent, get her own place. You need to talk to her. Tell her it's time she moved out and stood on her own 2 feet. We can't live with this looming over our heads. She'll resent us for it. My dad sounded weary. He was saying something about how it was my house. What could he do? Karen grew angrier. You're her father. You tell her. Or I will. We need her out. This is our home. I recorded it on my phone. That was my limit. I knew what I had to do. I didn't want to live like this anymore. This wasn't a family, not truly. It was just me and them. And Karen wanted me out of my own home. The next week, I went to see an attorney. I showed him the documents for the house. He explained my rights. He was very helpful. He helped me draft a formal notice. It stated that Karen, Ron, and Kyrie had 60 days to move out of my house. I gave a copy to Karen. I gave a copy to my dad for Ron and Kyrie. Karen read it. Her face turned pale, then bright red. She started screaming. She called me ungrateful, a monster, a terrible child. She said I would regret this. She called me ungrateful, a monster, a horrible child. She said I would regret this. She ripped the paper into tiny pieces and tossed them at me. You can't do this. This is my home. We will not leave. Ron emerged from his room. He seemed irritated. What's all the yelling? Karen told him. He gazed at me and said, You can't force us out. That's like illegal or something. Kyrie began to cry, claiming I was ruining her life. My dad merely sat on the sofa with his head in his hands. He remained silent for a long period. They didn't think I would go through with it. Karen informed everyone, her friends, her family, that I was attempting to render them homeless. She said I was crazy, but I went ahead with it. When they made no preparations to depart after the 60 days, I submitted the legal eviction documents to the court. I had proof of ownership. I had the recording of Karen saying she wanted me out. The legal process took some time. Karen attempted to contest it. She told the court I was mentally unstable. She claimed my dad supported her. He didn't. Not truly, he was just broken. She even had an instance in an attorney's office where she began hitting her head against the table, gently, then more forcefully, stating this was excessive stress, that I was inflicting this upon her. The attorney appeared shocked. Then Karen began weeping and claiming she felt faint. It was quite a performance. But the law was clear. It was my house. They had no lease. They had to depart. It's been almost 3 months since I gave them the initial notice. Ron was the first to depart. He became angry one day, packed a bag, shouted many harsh words at me, and slammed the door. He's staying with some friends. I heard he found employment at a large retail store. Kyrie experienced a massive meltdown. She shrieked for hours that I was envious of her and that I was a nobody. Then she called some friends, packed all her designer clothes and makeup, and returned to her campus apartment. She actually has to reside there full time now. She posts sorrowful things on social media about family betrayal. Karen was the most difficult. She declined to pack. She would sit in the living room and weep loudly whenever I entered. Or she would follow me around the house, telling me how I was ruining the family. She tried to persuade my dad to stop me. They had enormous arguments. One evening, my dad informed her he couldn't continue this anymore. He said he had allowed things to become too dire for too long. He told her he desired a separation or a divorce. Karen had a complete breakdown then. She began screaming and throwing objects. Not at me, just around. She shattered lamps, pictures. She clawed at her own arms, leaving red marks. My dad attempted to calm her. It was dreadful. She was entirely out of control. She accused him of siding with me, of never loving her. Then she collapsed on the floor, simply sobbing and wailing. It continued for hours. The following day, she was quiet. My dad helped her pack a few bags. Her sister agreed to allow Karen to stay with her for a brief period. When she left, she looked at me. Her eyes were filled with hatred. She said, "You'll get what you deserve." She did not say farewell to my dad. My dad is still present in the house. He's been quite subdued. He expressed his regret to me. Sorry for not being a better father, for allowing Karen to treat me that way. He said he acknowledges his mistakes. He began searching for a modest apartment. He said he will also move out, that this is my house and I merit peace. He said he will provide me with money for the expenses until he leaves. So now it's just me and my dad, moving around in this large house. I know legally I performed what was necessary, but I'm not sure, empty. My dad intends to move out. He says he needs to organize his life. He's consulting an attorney regarding the divorce from Karen. My query is, I suppose, what next? I possess this house. I have the tranquility I believed I desired. Yet it all seems so shattered. There's no family remaining, truly. Only me. Was this the sole option? Did I act correctly by dismantling everything to secure my own space? I know it's my house, but they resided here for a decade. Ida for actually going through with it and kicking them all out like that, especially Karen after her breakdown? Update 1, hello everyone. Approximately 2 weeks have passed since my initial post. I appreciate all the comments and messages. I reviewed many of them. Numerous individuals stated I was not the asshole, and that I did what was necessary. Some of you requested more specifics on a few points, so I'll attempt to clarify. Many people inquired about my dad and why he allowed it all to occur. That's a difficult question. My dad, he dislikes conflict. After my mom passed away, he was deeply saddened for an extended period. I think when Karen arrived, she was vibrant and outspoken, and somewhat dominated. And perhaps he just permitted her. He works extensively. He's a tradesman with long hours. I believe he simply desired peace at home, or what he perceived as peace. He frequently advised me to simply disregard Karen, or to do as she instructed to prevent an argument. When she would become truly agitated, shouting, he would typically attempt to pacify her, but not genuinely defend me, if that makes sense. He would try to halt the arguments, but not resolve the underlying issue. He confessed to me after Karen left that he knew it was wrong, that he ignored the situation for years. He said he felt like a coward. He's been seeing a therapist now, which I believe is beneficial. Some inquired if Karen was consistently that extreme. In retrospect, yes, but it deteriorated over time. Or perhaps I just perceived it more as I matured. When I was younger, if I didn't do something she wished, she would give me the silent treatment, or tell my dad I was being challenging. As I matured, the demands grew larger, and her reactions if I resisted became more explosive. The shouting fits occurred perhaps once or twice a month, sometimes more if she was stressed about something else. The time she tore my mom's books, or when she yanked my blankets off me when I was unwell, those were bad, but there were other instances. She once locked me outside the house for several hours in the rain when I was 15 because I was tardy returning home from my part-time job. I had to wait on the porch until my dad arrived home. She informed him I was being disrespectful and needed to learn a lesson. He argued with her then, but ultimately I was the one who had to apologize to her to maintain peace. Some people wondered if Ron or Kyrie ever defended me, or if they were also victims of Karen. Kyrie was mostly just like her mom, very entitled, believing she deserved everything. She would participate with Karen sometimes, ridiculing me or complaining about me. Ron primarily just ignored everything. He remained in his room. If Karen was screaming, he'd wear headphones. He wasn't unkind to me directly very often, but he never assisted me. He simply didn't care as long as he obtained what he desired, which was a free place to live and no responsibilities. Karen clearly favored her own children. They received new clothes, gadgets, whatever they requested. I typically had to use my own earnings from my part-time job if I desired anything additional. Reading your comments helped me realize that I wasn't irrational for feeling like the situation was intolerable. For an extended period, I simply thought it was my life, that I had to endure it. The concept of owning the house was such a shock. It was as if a light switched on. I didn't choose to evict them solely because of the rent. That was simply the conclusive factor. It was a decade of being treated like a servant, of my mom's memory being wiped away, of Karen's shouting and outbursts, and my dad failing to intervene. After I discovered the documents, I considered it for a few days before I informed them. I imagined perhaps I could simply inform them. I owned the residence and matters would alter. Karen would show me more respect. They'd begin assisting. But then I overheard her telling my dad they needed to remove me. That's when I realized merely informing them would not suffice. She would attempt to manipulate me or my dad. She would render my life even more difficult. The recording I made of her stating that was significant. My attorney stated it demonstrated her intent. I did not wish to evict them. I'm not that type of individual, but I saw no other way to get my life back, or to even have a life, It seemed like self-defense. The lawyer explained that legally they were tenants by sufferance, or something like it, essentially people living there without a lease, once I, the owner, decided they could no longer. He noted the 60-day notice was generous. Many of you asked for more details about how I actually went ahead with the eviction and what Karen did when she got the formal notices, beyond what I wrote in the first post. It wasn't a straightforward process due to her reactions. So, after I consulted the lawyer, he helped prepare the first formal notice to vacate, the 60-day one. I gave a copy to Karen directly. My dad was there. Her initial reaction, which I mentioned involved screaming and tearing it up, was even more intense than I initially described. She didn't merely tear it, she flung the pieces in my face. She lunged at me, and my dad had to physically hold her back. She was yelling things like, "I'll see you in court. You won't get away with this. This house is mine as much as yours," and a lot of very personal, nasty insults I won't repeat. She also threatened to call Child Protective Services on me, which made no sense since I am an adult, but it reveals her state of mind. She then rushed to her room and slammed the door. For the next few days, she'd either give me the silent treatment or murmur threats under her breath whenever I was nearby. Several of you asked if her behavior worsened beyond verbal abuse or property damage. Sadly, yes. Roughly a week after the first notice, and after days of her either ignoring me or murmuring dreadful things when I passed, she trapped me in the kitchen. I had mentioned this briefly, but some requested more clarity. She was strangely calm at first, which was almost more frightening than the screaming. She said, "Your mother would be appalled by you. You are ruining this family. Are you content now that you're making everyone unhappy?" Then her eyes seemed to glaze over, and she reached for the knife holder on the counter. She drew out a large kitchen knife. She didn't aim it directly at me, but she held it in her hand, motioning with it as she spoke. "Perhaps if I just end my suffering, then you'll finally be content? Is that what you desire?" she said, her voice growing higher. My dad noticed the shift in her tone and rushed in. He saw the knife and instantly stepped between us, speaking to her calmly, and succeeded in getting her to put it down. She then collapsed to the floor, weeping and striking her fists against the cabinets, shouting about how unjust everything was. That was likely the most terrifying moment, because it felt so unforeseen. My dad wished to call emergency services, but Karen shrieked at him, stating she would tell them he assaulted her if he did. Thus he didn't. The following day, she behaved as if nothing had occurred, which was also part of her pattern. A number of you inquired if they challenged it in court. When the court official arrived to deliver Karen the formal summons, she initially declined to open the door. He was forced to affix it to the door. Karen then retained a lawyer who attempted to contend that she had provided for the household for years and was entitled to remain, or that I lacked capacity. My attorney submitted the trust papers, my grandmother's testament, and my audio of Karen stating she wanted me gone. Karen's attorney also sought to assert emotional hardship on her behalf. During a meeting between the attorneys, which I did not attend, my lawyer informed me Karen evidently experienced a dramatic outburst, weeping and asserting she was too unwell to relocate. However, legally, her claim was quite weak. The house indisputably belonged to me. Many of you requested further specifics on how Ron, Kyrie, and Karen actually departed, and what the immediate consequences were like in those last days. It was not a calm departure for any of them. Ron, as I mentioned, departed first. Some asked if he spoke or simply left. He didn't merely pack and depart. He faced me in the corridor, insisting on knowing what I planned to do by myself in this large house. He called me pathetic and declared I'd regret it when I had no family remaining. He then entered his room, and I heard a loud thud. Subsequently, I discovered a sizable fist-sized hole in his bedroom door. He had punched it. Kyrie's exit was just as dramatic, as some of you surmised. She didn't merely cry, she threw a complete tantrum. She yelled at me for roughly an hour, labeling me jealous, ugly, and a witch. She claimed I was destroying her social life because she'd have to truly reside in her campus apartment full time. She then began sifting through the living room, attempting to seize items she asserted were hers. She seized a small flat-screen TV, and when I informed her it was mine, a gift from my grandparents to me years ago, she shrieked, "Fine, if I cannot possess it, no one can," and purposely let it fall to the floor. The screen severely cracked. Karen's last days in the house before her sister arrived for her were a roller coaster, and some of you inquired if there was additional property damage. Indeed, there was. Beyond the emotional episodes I depicted, it worsened after my dad informed her he desired a divorce. It was as if something within her utterly broke. One afternoon, I discovered her in the backyard with a pair of garden shears, trimming my grandma's prized rose bushes down to stumps. She was murmuring about severing all the lifeless things. When I attempted to stop her, she merely glared at me with cold eyes and continued trimming. Later, I discovered she had spilled bleach onto a section of my grandma's beloved lavender plants. Inside the house, after she had left, my dad discovered she'd used a permanent black marker and inscribed dreadful, offensive words about me and him on the inside of her bedroom closet door. The day she departed, when her sister's car was outside, she walked through the house one final time, and as she exited the front door, she turned and spat on the welcome mat on the porch. That was her ultimate farewell. My dad, as I noted, was crushed by all of it. He began tidying up Karen's messes almost right after she left, apologizing repeatedly. He was the one who discovered the writing in the closet and painted over it himself before I witnessed the worst of it. He repeatedly said he didn't know how he allowed things to become so unmanageable. He restated his offer to cover the damages, including the TV Kyrie broke and the door Ron damaged. So yes, the process Kyrie broke and the door Ron damaged. So yes, the process was filled with these sorts of incidents. It wasn't merely a straightforward case of them packing and departing once the notice was delivered. Each stage was a struggle. It's calmer now. But the house feels harmed. Not only the objects, but the atmosphere within it. I'm sleeping a little better, but I still startle at loud sounds. Update 2. It's been roughly 6 months since my previous update, so approximately 7 months since I initially posted. Much has occurred. My dad relocated about 4 months ago. He located a small apartment not too distant. He kept his promise and assisted in paying for some of the repairs before he departed. The hole Ron punched and the doors repaired. The closet Karen defaced has been repainted. The garden is gradually recovering. I'm attempting to replant some items. The house is quite empty now, just me. Initially, the quiet was pleasant. I could study without interruption. I could eat what I desired, watch what I desired. No one was shouting. However, sometimes the quiet is excessive. It's a large house for one person. I hear nothing from Ron or Kyrie whatsoever. I blocked them on social media after Kyrie continued posting unpleasant things about family betrayal, and some of her friends began sending me strange messages. I learned through my dad that Ron is still employed at the retail store and grumbles about it constantly. Kyrie is completing her college year, still residing in her apartment. Evidently, she's requested more money from my dad because Karen isn't providing her as much currently. Karen is still living with her sister, I believe. Her sister telephoned my dad once, a few months prior, to grumble about Karen. Evidently, Karen is quite challenging to live with. She doesn't assist around the house, complains ceaselessly, and has had several major disagreements with her sister's husband. My dad didn't extend much sympathy to the sister. He simply informed her that was Karen's issue now. My dad and Karen are officially divorcing. The attorneys are managing it. Karen attempted to claim half of my dad's assets as alimony. She tried to contend that my house ought to be regarded as a marital asset, even though it belongs to me. Her lawyer abandoned that rather quickly when my lawyer presented them the trust documents once more. The divorce is not amicable. There have been heated phone calls between them, primarily Karen shouting at my dad. He typically just hangs up now. He told me Karen even attempted to claim he was abusive to her, in an effort to get more money, but there was no evidence since it wasn't true. In fact, it was the opposite with her emotional outbursts and sporadic physical aggression, such as throwing objects or that incident with the knife. As for me, I'm still studying online. I received a minor promotion at my part-time job, so I have a bit more money. I've begun repainting some of the rooms in the house, colors that I like. I purchased a new bird bath for the garden to replace one Karen broke in an outburst of rage years ago that my grandma had cherished. It's a minor thing, but it felt significant. I had a quite odd occurrence about a month ago. Karen appeared at the house. I was in the kitchen, and I heard a knocking sound at the front door. I glanced through the peephole, and it was her. I didn't open it. She knocked for about 10 minutes. Then she began shouting my name. Then she started crying, very loudly, saying she just wanted to talk, that she missed me and my dad. I still didn't open the door. I just stood there, trembling slightly. Eventually, she left. I called my dad afterwards. He was upset she came to the house. He called her and told her to keep away from me and my property. She apparently yelled at him and denied she was crying, saying she was just trying to be reasonable. My dad is doing all right. He sees his therapist weekly. He's quieter than he used to be, more thoughtful. We meet for dinner sometimes. We mostly talk about my studies, his work, current events. It's a bit awkward still. There's a distance that wasn't there before all this, or maybe it was, but it was hidden under all the drama. I had to change the locks on the house. After Karen showed up, I was worried she might have made a copy of a key sometime, or that she might try to get in. It cost money, but it makes me feel a bit safer. So that's where things stand. The house is mine. It's quiet. I'm gradually trying to make it my own. I did what I had to do, I believe. There was no other way to halt what was happening. Thank you all for reading this and for your support earlier. I don't believe I'll post any further updates. This is simply my life now. I have to figure out how to live it. Here's another story that will leave you stunned. My name is Elias. I'm 54 now, but this entire situation truly began some years ago. For nearly 30 years, I worked at the same manufacturing plant. I started at the lowest rank and eventually reached a mid-level position. My wife, Leona, left when our girls, Amara and Callista, were young. Amara was 10, Callista was 7. Leona, it seemed, wasn't suited for a calm family existence, I suppose. Once she departed, her visits were quite inconsistent. Sometimes she'd show up full of smiles and big promises. Other times we wouldn't hear from her for months. Whenever she did arrive, it frequently resulted in the girls feeling disappointed because something she had promised would occur didn't. Thus, it was primarily me who brought them up. I wasn't perfect, but I was always there. I wanted them to have a better life than I did, a life with more choices. My own childhood was rather working class. Food on the table, roof over our heads, but not much extra. I was resolute that my girls would possess the extras. To ensure they possessed what they required, I labored. Quite a bit. My primary employment at the factory, followed by extra jobs. Fixing things for people. A bit of consulting based on my plant experience. I was putting in 60, occasionally 70 hours each week, year upon year. This meant I could send them to a quality private school. It meant engaging SAT tutors to prepare them for university, and then it involved covering the costs of university itself. Amara undertook a study abroad program in Spain for a semester. Callista needed help with her first car. I took care of it. We didn't reside like wealthy individuals, by no means. My home is small. I drove the same worn truck for 15 years. My work jeans were sometimes more patches than actual denim. Yet the girls never lacked anything. They had what they required to focus on school, to have a normal childhood, a good start. Circumstances began to shift when they were in their early 20s. Leona re-entered their lives more often. She had remarried. Her new spouse was a man named Sterling. He was prosperous, or at least appeared to be. He owned his own business, wore costly suits, drove a luxurious car. Leona was different around him. more refined, I suppose. Sterling made a point of getting involved with Amara and Callista. He secured Amara an internship at a firm he knew. He had contacts and got Callista linked with a local agency. Initially, I thought, okay, perhaps this is good for them. More people watching out for them. But then I began to notice a change. The girls grew distant, phone calls shortened. They were often busy, typically with matters involving Sterling and Leona. They began discussing Sterling's fine house, the people he knew. My modest place, my calm life, likely seemed quite uninteresting by comparison. I recall one weekend I'd planned a camping trip, an activity we did when they were younger. They both canceled at the last moment. Amara said Sterling was taking them to an event. Callista said she had a networking function Sterling had organized. It stung, certainly, but I reminded myself they were adults, making their own choices. Then the inquiries began. Minor, at first. Little remarks about genetics, about whom they took after. Leona had apparently been filling their minds with stories. One evening, Amara called. She sounded uncertain. She asked if there was anything I hadn't told them about their mother, about the period before the divorce. I asked her what she meant. She said their mother had informed them she'd had an affair a long time ago, before Leona and I separated, and that Leona now believes someone else might be their biological father. I was stunned. Leona and I had our difficulties, many of them, but I never, ever doubted the girls were mine. Sterling, according to Amara, had been part of these discussions. He'd apparently mentioned that, for tax reasons and for estate planning, he could legally adopt them as adults. He said it would cement their position in the family, meaning his and Leona's new family. Amara and Callista started using expressions I'd never heard from them previously, things like modern family structure and needing emotional closure regarding their actual lineage. Leona, during our marriage, had a temper, a severe one. When circumstances didn't go her way, she could become volatile, shouting, tossing objects. I remember once when Amara was about 5, Leona had promised to take her to a special puppet show. The day before, Leona received a call from a friend inviting her on a weekend trip to the city. The puppet show was overlooked. When I attempted to discuss Amara's potential disappointment with her, Leona erupted in fury. She blamed me for restricting her. Amara was petrified. That truly characterized Leona. Nothing but theatrics and unfulfilled pledges. Her return now, accompanied by Sterling, seemed like history repeating, yet with a fresh twist. She used to simply vanish. Now she was attempting to draw them away with her, in a sense. On one particular occasion, when the girls were teenagers, Leona was meant to take them school shopping. She arrived 3 hours late, smelling of alcohol, with only half the funds she had pledged to bring. When Callista gently inquired if they would still be able to acquire the sneakers she desired, Leona lashed out. She shouted that they were thankless, that she was giving up so much simply to be with them. She tossed the money she possessed onto the kitchen table and stormed off, leaving them weeping. I took them shopping the following day. That was the recurring pattern. Grand actions followed by conflict, then disillusionment. Sterling appeared to soften her harsher traits, at least publicly, but the sense of entitlement remained beneath the surface, and she was plainly utilizing him and his wealth to entice the girls. The major confrontation took place a few weeks after Amara's telephone call. They requested to visit, both of them. They seated themselves on my worn couch. Amara handled most of the conversation initially. Callista merely gazed at her hands. Amara reiterated what Leona had informed them, that Leona had engaged in an affair near the time Amara was conceived, and then another one prior to Callista, that Leona was nearly positive I wasn't their biological father. She said Leona was deeply troubled by this disclosure and wished to rectify the situation. Then Callista spoke up. She said Sterling had clarified everything, that if he adopted them, it would streamline inheritance. He apparently told them it was a sensible measure for their future financial security. Callista said, "It's just for legal stuff, Dad. For taxes and things." Amara nodded. It's not personal, Dad. Then she said the words that truly cut deep. Sterling aligns more with our current lives. Mom is happier, and our prospects are improving with his help. I didn't say much at first. I simply listened. My mind was reeling. After all the years, all the sacrifices, this is what it amounted to? Their mother, who scarcely raised them, and her new wealthy husband, telling them I wasn't their father, and them just accepting it, due to practical considerations. I rose, went to my age filing cabinet, and retrieved a folder. During the divorce, Leona had attempted to assert I wasn't Amara's father, even at that time, probably to avoid some obligation or create difficulties. We had paternity tests conducted, for both girls. It was a lawful prerequisite for the custody documents. I had the formal documents, plain as day. Both Amara and Callista were my natural daughters. I placed the papers on the table in front of them. This was from the divorce, I said. Paternity tests, judicially confirmed. You are both my daughters. Amara took hold of the top sheet, looked at it briefly, then set it back down. Callista didn't even glance. Mom mentioned those older tests might not be precise, Amara stated, her voice devoid of emotion. She claimed methods are more developed nowadays. Callista gently added, Sterling offered to cover new tests if we wished. But he also remarked, what's the purpose? It's about who takes responsibility, isn't it? He's taking responsibility for us now. The apathy in their gaze. That was the most painful aspect. It wasn't about the truth for them. It was about what they desired to be true. What was practical. What Leona and Sterling were offering them. They didn't even dispute the documents. They simply disregarded them. It was evident their decisions were set, or Leona and Sterling had decided for them. Amara actually stated, Look, Dad, we value all you did while we were growing up. But we're grown-ups now. We must consider our future. Mom and Sterling are presenting us with an alternative kind of future. I remained seated for an extended moment after they finished speaking. They appeared uneasy, fidgeting on the sofa, anticipating me to dispute, perhaps, or to beg. I did not. I merely felt hollow, as if something within me had simply turned off. Silently, I gathered the paternity papers from the table. I folded them and replaced them in their envelope. I did not shout. I did not become theatrical. What was the point? They'd already made their choice. I looked at them, both my daughters. The girls I'd changed diapers for, taught to ride bikes, sat up with when they were sick. The girls I'd worked my fingers to the bone for. And then I acted. The next day, I started making calls. First, I ended all financial support. The small allowance I still sent Callista for her supplies. The top-up I gave Amara for her rent in the city. Stopped. Next, I called my insurance company. I removed them from my health insurance plan. They were adults. They could get their own. Callista's car, the one I'd co-signed the loan for. I contacted the bank and explained I was revoking my co-signature. It took some doing, but it was possible. They'd have to refinance it on their own, or Sterling could co-sign. I had set up small emergency savings accounts for each of them years ago. I'd put a little in each month. I closed those accounts and moved the money back to my own savings. Then I sent them both a text message. Each received the same message. It was polite and clear. It read, I have received your decision regarding your family and future. Since you no longer consider me your father, I will no longer be providing for your adult lives. I wish you well. After that, I blocked their numbers for a while. I needed some space. I heard nothing directly. I assumed they were busy building their new lives with Sterling and Leona. A few months went by. I unblocked their numbers in that period. Their end remained completely silent. I simply went to work, came home, and tried to grow accustomed to the quiet. It wasn't easy. Every corner of the house held a memory, but I kept putting one foot in front of the other. Then slowly, things began to change. Not for me, but for them, from what I initially gathered indirectly. It turned out Sterling wasn't as reliable as he seemed. His primary business suffered a significant setback. Some deal fell through, I heard. The impressive connections he boasted about, the ones meant to launch Amara's career after her internship, didn't materialize. Her internship concluded, and no full-time job offer followed. Callista's agency, the one Sterling had connected her with, lost its biggest client. Her hours were cut, then cut again. Leona and Sterling, it appears, began to pull back. The emotional support, and more importantly for the girls, the financial support, started to diminish. Suddenly, their different kind of future wasn't looking so promising. The calls and messages began about 6 months after my text. Initially, it was just small things. Callista sent a text. "Hey Dad, just checking in. Hope you're doing okay." No mention of anything, no apology. Simply a feeler. Amara left a voicemail a week later. "Hi Dad, it's me. I was just thinking about you. Give me a call sometime if you want." I didn't respond to either of them. What could I say? That's where I am now. They're asking to talk. After everything they said, everything they did. After choosing Sterling and Leona. After telling me I wasn't their father and that Sterling was a better fit. Now that Sterling's well is running dry, they're back. So Wipta, if I tell them there's nothing to talk about, what would you do? Update 1. Wow. I hadn't expected so many replies. Thank you all for taking the time to read my story and share your thoughts. Many of you also sent private messages, and I appreciate that. It's helped just to lay everything out. Many of you asked for more details about Leona and why the girls might have been so quick to believe her or agree to the plan. It's complicated, but Leona has a knack for making people believe her, especially when she's emotional. When she's in a full-blown meltdown, she can be very convincing, twisting facts, playing the victim, and making grand accusations. She has always been very entitled. If she wants something, she believes she deserves it, regardless of the cost to others. I think Sterling, with his money and apparent success, was like a shiny new toy for her, and the girls were part of making that new life perfect. She likely portrayed me as the dull, unchanging past, and Sterling as the thrilling future. Some of you questioned if Sterling is the exciting future. Some of you inquired if Sterling was openly malicious. I don't believe he was a cackling villain, but he enabled Leona, and he certainly recognized an opportunity. The adoption matter, he probably presented it as being generous, a means to care for Amara and Callista. He likely didn't consider beyond the superficial appeal. He likely also underestimated how much I was truly doing for them and the expense if he genuinely had to take over. His ideas about the paternity, the tax advantages, it was all about making it appear logical, practical for the girls. He assisted Leona in forming the narrative that they were upgrading their family. A few people inquired if the girls displayed any remorse before issues arose with Sterling. The response is no. If the girls displayed any remorse before issues arose with Sterling, the response is no. Not even a trace. Their calls and messages, once they resumed, were informal, as though nothing significant had occurred, as if they were merely testing the waters. No, I'm sorry, no, we made a mistake. Just, hey Dad. That revealed a great deal to me. After reading your comments and reflecting on everything, I understood a few things. Numerous of you stated I owed them nothing. Many suggested I should at least listen to them, if only for my own closure, to determine if they comprehended what they'd done. I was uncertain about the closure aspect. I believed what they did provided enough closure. But then a week ago, they arrived at my house, without warning. They simply rang the doorbell on a Saturday morning. The two of them. They appeared weary. Amara's eyes were red. Callista seemed like she hadn't slept for days. Their appearance on my doorstep, looking like that. I chose to listen to what they had to tell me, so when they were standing there and Amara inquired, "Dad, can we talk?" I didn't reply immediately. I simply gazed at them. Amara lowered her gaze. Way. I just looked at them. Callista chewed on her lip. I stated, "All right, come in. You have 10 minutes. That caught them off guard. They likely anticipated an argument or tears, or for me to shut the door firmly. I guided them to the living room. The same room where they had informed me Sterling was a better fit. I didn't invite them to sit. I stood, and they remained standing uncomfortably in the middle of the room. Amara began. Dad, we made a terrible mistake, a truly bad one. Callista nodded, her eyes glistening. We were so foolish. Amara went on. Mom, she was so convincing. And Sterling, he made everything appear so appealing. Like this incredible new life awaited us. She gazed up at me. I think I desired to believe it, Dad. I wanted to believe that things might be simple and thrilling. A new beginning. So it was about a new beginning for them, away from their actual life. That's good to know. Callista then spoke, her voice breaking. I simply wished to feel like I belonged to something successful. Sterling appeared so prosperous. Mom seemed so content, or so I thought. I thought perhaps this was my chance to have that. She started to cry. Not loud sobbing, but tears streaming down her face. We truly didn't understand what we were discarding. Not entirely. They spoke a little more, mostly excuses, about how Leona had pressured them, and how Sterling had made promises, how they felt overwhelmed, how their situation with Leona and Sterling was now terrible. Leona was seemingly making their lives miserable, blaming them for insufficient gratitude, once Sterling's funds began to diminish. Sterling was distant and uninterested in their problems. That bright future had quickly lost its luster. I listened. I didn't interrupt. I didn't offer call. I listened. I didn't interrupt. I didn't offer Callista a tissue. I didn't comfort them. I simply listened, my expression, I suppose, revealing nothing. When they eventually finished, gazing at me with hopeful, frightened eyes, awaiting my reply, I drew a breath. Here's what I said to them. I maintained a calm and steady voice. So, let me ensure I comprehend. Your mother, someone who deserted you and failed her commitments throughout your childhood, informed you I was not your father. Her new husband, a man you hardly knew, proposed adopting you to lessen his taxes and make his new family seem whole. And you two, my educated adult daughters, determined this was a sound plan. They both flinched. I went on. You claim you desired a fresh start, Amara. A fresh start from what? From the father who labored 70 hours a week to provide you with everything? Callista, you wished to be part of something successful. Was my life, my sacrifices for you, not a success in your view? Callista began to sob a little louder. No, Dad, it's not. We didn't mean... You didn't mean? I interrupted her, still calm. What did you mean when you looked at legal proof of your paternity and dismissed it? What did you mean, Amara, when you told me Sterling fits better with your lives now? You were very clear then. Amara tried. Dad, please. We know we were wrong. We are so sorry. Sorry isn't a magic word, I said. It doesn't undo choices. You made your choice. You chose them. You chose their story. You chose their practical reasons over decades of your actual life with me. You stood in this very room and, in no uncertain terms, disowned me as your father. I paused. They were both crying now. Good. Let them cry. Their tears didn't affect me. You came here today because your new, better life fell apart, I stated. Because Sterling's money is gone, and your mother is being herself. You didn't come here when you still thought Sterling was your ticket to Easy Street. You came here because your safety net with them broke, and you're hoping your old safety net, me, is still here. I looked from one to the other. Well, here's my decision. You are correct. You threw something away. You threw away our relationship. You threw away my trust. You threw away any obligation I had to you as a father because you willingly chose to believe I wasn't. When you left this house after that discussion, you became, to all intents and purposes, Leona's daughters. Sterling's stepdaughters, not mine. So your 10 minutes are over. There is nothing for you here. Not my time, not my money, not my assistance, nothing. I gestured towards the door. Go back to Leona and Sterling. You picked them. Live with that choice. Do not contact me again. We are finished. Amara appeared as if I'd slapped her. Dad, you cannot mean that. We are your daughters. No, Amara, I stated. You made it very clear you're not. I possess the documents to prove you are biologically mine, but you, yourselves, turned that away. You turned me away. So no, you're not my daughters in any way that counts anymore. Callista simply stood there, trembling, tears flowing down her face, unable to speak. Amara opened her mouth, then shut it. She perceived something in my eyes, I suppose. She took Callista's arm, and they departed. I watched them go down the path, get into Callista's car, the one I used to help pay for, and drive off. I shut the door. I felt no sadness. I felt no anger anymore. I felt still, like a storm had finally passed, and the air felt clear. That was a harsh thing to say, I know, but it was the truth, as I perceived it. They burned the bridge. I merely confirmed it was gone. I don't know what they'll do. And frankly, it's no longer my concern. As many of you mentioned, I need to live my own life now. Update 2. It's been roughly a year since my last update. Life has been different. Since that last confrontation, I haven't heard a single word from Amara or Callista. They took my words to heart, it appears. Or maybe Leona and Sterling have them on a tighter leash, or they've found some other solution to their problems. I don't know, and I haven't tried to find out. Some might think that's cold, but I spent more than 2 decades putting them first. Every decision, every extra shift, every sacrifice was for them. And when they had the chance, they chose to believe the worst, to chase a fantasy, and to discard me because I wasn't shiny enough for their ambitions. The well of my fatherly feeling for them ran dry the day they demonstrated the paternity papers didn't matter. What I said to them in our last meeting was merely me verbalizing what they had already done. My day-to-day life is simple. I go to work at the plant. I still wear my old jeans. My house is still small. It's peaceful. No more drama. No more worrying about their tuition, their car payments, their emergency funds. No more wondering if they're all right, only to be met with aloofness or demands. I don't know what has occurred with Leona and Sterling. I don't inquire, and no one informs me. They reside in another city, and our paths do not intersect. I imagine Leona remains Leona. Individuals like her do not alter significantly. Sterling, well, he discovered that assisting Leona and attempting to purchase a ready-made family isn't as simple as it appears. So that is it. That is the conclusion of the story, I suppose. There is no grand dramatic conclusion. They are absent from my life, and I am progressing with mine. I am faring well. Thank you to everyone who listened and provided their thoughts. It helped, knowing I was not merely shouting into the void. The final story for today. Hi, Reddit. I'm not sure what to do. Or maybe I already did it. I need to know if I'm the asshole for what happened. My wife, let's call her Anna, and I got married 3 weeks ago. We dated for 2 years. The wedding was nice, not too big. Our families were there. Our friends were there. We paid for a lot of it ourselves. Anna really wanted a special honeymoon. She showed me pictures of this place for months. It has blue water and white sand houses over the water. It cost a lot of money. I wanted to make her happy. So I booked it. 10 days. Her dream trip. We flew there 2 days ago. It was a long flight. We got to the hotel. It was like the pictures. Very pretty. Anna was so happy. She took many photos. She said, "This is perfect. Thank you." I was happy because she was happy. Yesterday was our first full day there. We had breakfast. We walked on the beach. We went swimming. In the afternoon, I started to get a headache, probably from the long flight and the sun. I told Anna I needed to find some pain medicine and get some more bottled water. She was looking at her phone, getting ready to call her best friend to tell her about the place. She said, "Okay, sure," without really looking up from her screen. Our hut was one of those over-the-water types. It was quite big. The bedroom was in the back part of the hut. The main living area and the balcony were at the front, facing the ocean. I thought there might be some additional water bottles, or perhaps a small first aid kit. with some simple medicine near the minibar area, which was near the entrance of the hut. If not, I assumed I would have to call the front desk. I left the main living area and headed for the entry area of the hut to look for the water and medicine. I found a couple of small bottles of water and a small fridge there, and fortunately, I remembered I had put some headache pills in my carry-on bag, which I had placed by the door. So I took a pill and drank a full bottle of water. I felt a little better. When I returned to the main living area, planning to go to the bedroom to rest, Anna was already on her call. She was standing on the balcony, with her back to the room, gazing at the ocean. She was talking to Lisa. The door to the balcony was partially open, I assumed to let the sea breeze enter. She did not hear me return to the main room. I tend to walk quietly anyway. I was going to say something just to inform her I was back and going to the bedroom. But then I heard the tone of her voice change. It was not her normal conversational voice. It sounded more excited than before. It sounded like she was sharing a big secret. And the first few words I heard distinctly made me halt where I stood. I did not make a sound. I heard her say, "Oh my God, Lisa, I can't wait. It's all working out perfectly." Lisa must have asked what she meant. Anna then said, "Noah, meeting Noah. He mentioned he could get away for a few days." I listened more intently. Noah is her high school boyfriend. I was aware they were social media friends, but I didn't believe they communicated often. Anna had informed me a while back that he was married. She continued speaking, her voice filled with energy. "He's planning to try and meet me in, but not on this island, after we depart from here. Or perhaps I'll travel to a place further off, for a short time on our return journey." I assured him I could make it happen. Then she let out a giggle. A somewhat secretive giggle. "I've been chatting with him for about 6 months now. Can you imagine? He's quite unhappy with his wife. He told me I'm the sole person who understands him. 6 months. That implies she was communicating with him prior to our wedding, while we were mapping out our future. While I was laboring to afford this honeymoon she desired so intensely. I heard her remark, 'Yes, my name. Has no clue. He's so predictable. He'll simply want to head straight home. I'll claim I want to visit my cousin in city she mentioned as a possible Noah meeting spot for a couple of days before returning. He won't mind. He'll be perfectly okay with it.' She informed Lisa how Noah still evoked feelings in her, how they shared so much history, how he was her initial love, and one never forgets their first love. She stated she merited happiness, and Noah made her sense a spark she hadn't experienced in years. She was effusive about him, about seeing him. It seemed this plan to meet Noah was more significant, more thrilling to her than our actual honeymoon. I didn't stir. I simply stood there in the living area, listening. My headache had entirely vanished, replaced by a chilling sensation in my chest. I could not believe what I was hearing. This was our honeymoon, a place she claimed was her dream, and all this time she was planning to meet another man. After she concluded her call, she returned to the living room from the balcony. She was smiling, appearing very pleased. She noticed me and said, "Oh, you're back. Feeling any better?" I merely looked at her. I did not utter anything for a moment. She inquired, "Are you okay?" "Oh, you look pale," I replied. "My headache is gone." She proceeded to take a shower. While she was in the bathroom with the water flowing, I pondered. I thought very deeply. I replayed her words in my mind. 6 months. He has no idea. Deserved to be happy. The lies. The planning. When she emerged from the shower, she was humming a small tune. She appeared very happy and relaxed. I rose from the chair I had settled into. I moved towards our suitcases in the bedroom area. She asked, "What are you doing?" I replied, "I'm packing my belongings." She chuckled, a bewildered sound. "Packing for what?" "We just arrived here." "Are you planning a surprise?" I stated. "I'm going home." Her expression altered. The smile vanished. "What are you talking about? Are you ill? Did something occur?" I replied, "No, I am not ill." I opened my suitcase and began placing my clothes into it. She began to appear worried, somewhat annoyed. Hey, cease this. This isn't amusing. What's wrong with you? I stated. I overheard your call with Lisa. Her eyes widened. She ceased moving. She remained silent for an extended moment. Then she asked, "What exactly did you hear?" I replied, "Everything." She instantly began to deny it. No, no, you misunderstood. Noah is merely an old friend. Lisa and I we were simply joking around. Girl talk, I countered. You mentioned he was unhappy with his wife. You stated he made you feel a spark. You claimed I had no clue because I was predictable. You had a scheme to deceive me. She then began to grow angry. Her face flushed red. You were listening in on my private conversation. That's a total violation of my privacy. How dare you? I retorted. You were planning to betray me on our honeymoon. You married me under false pretenses. This marriage is over. She then began screaming, truly screaming, calling me names, claiming I was crazy, stating I was insecure and controlling, asserting I was ruining everything, her dream trip. I completed packing my bag. I ensured I had my passport, my wallet, and my phone. She stood before the hut's door, obstructing my path. You are not abandoning me here. You cannot do this, I replied. Just watch me. I moved her aside. She attempted to grasp my arm, her fingers digging in. I pulled my arm away. I walked out of the hut. I proceeded directly to the resort's front desk. I informed the individual there that I needed to check out. They appeared quite surprised. They inquired if there was an issue. I responded yes, a significant one. I paid for the single night we had lodged. I had covered the entire 10-day stay beforehand, using my credit card. I knew I probably wouldn't recover any of that money. At that point, the money was irrelevant to me. I requested them to arrange a boat to transport me to the main island where the airport was situated. As I awaited the boat's arrival, I took two distinct actions. First, I contacted the airline. I explained I required to alter my flight to return home at once. I secured a flight, departing that very night. Her return fare was part of my reservation, utilizing my frequent flyer miles and my credit card for the fees. I canceled her return ticket. It was a ticket I had organized and funded. Second, I telephoned her parents. Her mother picked up the call. I informed her very calmly and plainly of what had occurred. I said, "Anna and I are on our honeymoon. I just learned that she has been planning to rendezvous with her married high school sweetheart, Noah. She has been in touch with him for the last 6 months. She had a specific plan to meet him following this trip, or potentially even prolong her trip to see him by deceiving me." I overheard her full conversation with Lisa, outlining these arrangements. "I am abandoning her at the resort now. I have canceled her return ticket that I supplied. Our marriage is concluded." Her mother was quiet for a long while. I could hear her breathing, then she began to weep. She said, "No, no, that cannot be true. There has to be some misunderstanding." "Anna wouldn't do that," I replied. "I heard what I heard. There is no error. Hi, Reddit. I'm not sure what to do. Or maybe I already did it. I need to know if I'm the asshole for what happened. My wife, let's call her Anna, and I got married 3 weeks ago. We dated for 2 years. The wedding was nice. Not too big. Our families were there. Our friends were there. We paid for a lot of it ourselves. Anna really wanted a special honeymoon. She showed me pictures of this place for months. It has blue water and white sand houses over the water. It cost a lot of money. I wanted to make her happy. So I booked it. 10 days. Her dream trip. We flew there 2 days ago. It was a long flight. We got to the hotel. It was like the pictures. Very pretty. Anna was so happy. She took many photos. She said, "This is perfect." Thank you. I was happy because she was happy. Yesterday was our first full day there. We had breakfast. We walked on the beach. We went swimming. In the afternoon, I started to get a headache, probably from the long flight in the sun. I told Anna I needed to find some pain medicine and get some more bottled water. She was looking at her phone, getting ready to call her best friend to tell her about the place. She said, okay, sure, without really looking up from her screen. Our hut was one of those over-the-water types. It was quite big. The bedroom was in the back part of the hut. The main living area and the balcony were at the front, facing the ocean. I thought there might be some additional water bottles, or perhaps a small first aid kit, with some simple medicine near the minibar area, which was nearer the entrance of the hut. If not, I assumed I would have to call the front desk. I left the main living area and headed for the entry area of the hut to look for the water and medicine. I found a couple of small bottles of water in a small fridge there, and fortunately I remembered I had put some headache pills in my carry-on bag which I had placed by the door. So I took a pill and drank a full bottle of water. I felt a little better. When I returned to the main living area, planning to go to the bedroom to rest, Anna was already on her call. She was standing on the balcony with her back to the room, gazing at the ocean. She was talking to Lisa. The door to the balcony was partially open, I assumed to let the sea breeze enter. She did not hear me return to the main room. I tend to walk quietly anyway. I was going to say something just to inform her I was back and going to the bedroom, but then I heard the tone of her voice change. It was not her normal conversational voice. It sounded more excited than before. It sounded like she was sharing a big secret, and the first few words I heard distinctly made me halt where I stood. I did not make a sound. I heard her say, "Oh my God, Lisa, I can't wait. It's all working out perfectly." Lisa must have asked what she meant. Anna then said, "Noah." Meeting Noah, he mentioned he could get away for a few days. I listened more intently. Noah is her high school boyfriend. I was aware they were social media friends, but I didn't believe I feel numb, mostly, but I need to know. Ida for leaving her there, for canceling her ticket, and for telling her parents exactly why I did it. I feel like she betrayed me in the worst possible way. She was clearly going to cheat on me. She lied to me for months. Our wedding, this honeymoon, it feels like it was all based on a lie. So, Reddit, IDA, Update 1. Okay, it has been 4 days since my first post. Thank you for the comments. Most of you said NTA. Some said I should have confronted her differently, or not told her parents. But I stand by what I did. I'm still home. The jet lag is bad, but not as bad as the situation. My phone continued to blow up for the first 48 hours. It has quieted down a little now, but not completely. Anna, her first messages after I left were frantic and angry, like I said. Lots of capital letters and exclamation points. "You can't just leave me here. I have no money. How am I supposed to get home?" She had a credit card, but I guess it has a low limit. We had a joint account for wedding gifts that had some money, but she never got a card for it. I did. I haven't touched that account yet. My parents are going crazy thanks to you. You are a monster. I hate you. Then came the voicemails. Some were her crying, sobbing, saying I misunderstood everything, saying she was just fantasizing and would never have actually met Noah, saying she loves me. Other voicemails were her screaming, so loud I had to hold the phone away from my ear, calling me every name you can think of, saying I am controlling and abusive for leaving her, saying I humiliated her. One voicemail said, "Noah means nothing to me. You've ruined my reputation with my family for nothing." She demanded I reinstate her ticket, demanded I send her money, demanded I call her parents and tell them I made it all up. I did not reply to any of her texts or answer any of her calls. What is there to say? I heard what I heard. Her parents, her mom called me maybe 20 times the first day. Her dad called about 10 times. I answered one call from her dad on the second day. He sounded tired. He said, "Son, what is all this?" Anna is hysterical. She said you abandoned her over a misunderstanding. I told him, "I told your wife what I heard." Anna was on a call with Lisa. She was planning to meet Noah. She said she'd been talking to him for 6 months. She said he was married. She had a plan to lie to me to go see him after the honeymoon. "I'm not mistaken," he sighed. He said, "Noah, her old boyfriend." I thought that was long over, I said. Apparently not. He asked me if I was sure. I said I was 100% sure. I told him a few more direct quotes I remembered from her call. Things like her saying Noah made her feel a spark and that she deserved to be happy. He was quiet for a bit. Then he said, canceling her ticket and leaving her there. "That was harsh," I said. "Finding out your wife of 3 weeks is planning to open her legs to another man on your honeymoon is harsh. Learning she'd been speaking with him for the 6 months before our wedding is harsh." He didn't have much to say to that. He mentioned they were trying to figure out how to arrange a flight home for her. He seemed embarrassed. He didn't yell at me. He simply sounded sad. Her mom sent me some angry texts. "You should have talked to us first, and you've shamed our family. And Anna would never do such a thing. She's a good girl." I didn't reply to those. Lisa, her BFF, sent me a few messages on social media. "You need to call Anna. You two need to talk this out. Then she made a mistake, okay? But leaving her like that, seriously messed up. And finally, you're an ass. She's heartbroken. I hope you're happy." I blocked Lisa. If she knew about this plan, she's not my friend. And Anna's tone during the call made it seem like Lisa knew everything. My actions since getting back. 1. I spoke with a lawyer. First thing Monday morning. He stated I have grounds for an annulment or a divorce based on fraud. He inquired if I wanted to try and reconcile. I said no. Absolutely not. He began preparing the paperwork. 2. I changed the locks on my house. Anna has a key. Or had a key. She never officially moved in all her belongings. She still had her old apartment, but was supposed to give it up next month. We were going to move her items properly after the honeymoon. Now she won't be moving in here. 3. I went to our bank. I have a separate account, and we had that small joint account for wedding gift money. It contained around $3,000. I transferred half of it, but $1,500, to my individual account. I left her portion there. I made a record of this. I also closed a shared credit card we acquired for honeymoon costs that we had hardly used. My attorney confirmed this was acceptable. 4. I began collecting any evidence. I don't possess a recording of the call, naturally. However, I immediately noted everything I heard afterward. My lawyer said my testimony would perhaps work. Based on a brief call I received from her sister, who was more rational and simply wanted to confirm Anna was physically secure before her parents made all arrangements. Anna remains at the resort. Her parents needed to book her a new flight. It is seemingly very costly to obtain a last-minute flight from that distant place. She is scheduled to fly back tomorrow, or the day following. Her sister mentioned Anna is devastated, weeping, not eating, then screaming. She also stated Anna keeps asserting I misunderstood, and that I am ruining our lives for no reason. No indication of her accepting accountability. I haven't received any news about Noah or his wife. I did not reach out to Noah or his wife. I thought about it. I considered sending an anonymous message to his wife. However, my attorney advised waiting and observing, and to avoid any action that might make me appear vindictive if this divorce becomes complicated. He stated the main goal is to conclude the marriage cleanly. At present, I have adhered to that counsel. The details about Noah are primarily to justify my decision to end the marriage. I still feel mostly numb. Sometimes I feel angry. Sometimes I feel somewhat foolish for not noticing anything. But there were no signs. She seemed happy, excited for the wedding, for our life, or so I thought. My phone is less active now. I blocked Anna's number following too many screaming voicemails. Her parents have my number, and her sister. I will talk to them for arrangements about Anna's things, but that's it. I am simply waiting for the divorce papers to be ready to be served. I don't believe I am the asshole. I think I reacted to a huge betrayal. Thanks for listening, Reddit. I will update again if there are significant developments. Update 2, hello again. It has been a few weeks since my last update. Much has occurred. Anna is back in the country. The divorce papers were served, and we had a confrontation. It has happened. Anna is back in the country. The divorce papers were served, and we had a confrontation. It was unpleasant. Anna returned about 5 days after my last update. Her parents paid for her new flight. I heard from her sister that the journey was difficult. Multiple stops, long layovers. Her sister said Anna arrived exhausted and very emotional. Her parents picked her up from the airport. For a few days it was quiet. I presume she was recovering at her parents' house. My lawyer sent the divorce papers to her parents' address by process server. He suggested this was the optimal method to guarantee she formally received them. She was served 3 days ago, but yesterday morning my doorbell rang repeatedly. I peered through the peephole. It was Anna and her mother. I wasn't surprised. I opened the door. Before I could utter a word, Anna began shouting, "You! How could you do this to me? How could you destroy our marriage? How could you humiliate me like this?" Her voice was trembling. She attempted to push past me into the house. I blocked the doorway. I said, "Anna, there is nothing to discuss. You were served the papers. Our marriage is over," her mother said. "Can we please just come in and discuss this calmly?" "This is not how things should be handled," I said. "No. There will be no calm discussion regarding her plans to cheat on me. I am not interested in talking. I am only interested in finalizing the divorce." Anna began to cry then. "I didn't do anything. You twisted everything. Noah is just a friend. I was just excited to see an old friend." "You are so jealous and insecure," I said. "You told Lisa you had been speaking with him for 6 months. You said he was unhappy with his wife. You said he gave you a spark. You had a plan to lie to me to go see him. Those are not the actions of merely a friend," she screamed. "You're a liar. You're fabricating things to make me look bad." Then she lunged at me. She attempted to slap my face. I stepped back, and she stumbled past me into my hallway. Her mother gasped. I stated firmly, "Anna, if you touch me, I will call the police." She turned around. "You ruined my hallway." Her mother gasped. I stated firmly, "Anna, if you touch me, I will call the police." She turned around. "You ruined my life. My dream honeymoon, my reputation. My parents are ashamed of me because of your falsehoods." Her mother then intervened. "Anna, calm down. Let's not exacerbate this." She attempted to put her arm around Anna, but Anna pushed her away. "No, he needs to hear this. He is a cruel, wicked man," Anna yelled. She then grabbed a small vase from a hallway table and hurled it onto the floor. It shattered. "That's it," I stated. I pulled out my phone. "I'm calling the police." As soon as I mentioned the police, Anna's demeanor shifted slightly. The combativeness lessened in her, replaced by an underlying sense of panic. Her mother said, "No, please don't. We will depart." "Anna, we are leaving now." She took Anna's arm. Anna kept muttering things like, "He'll pay for this, and I did nothing wrong." Her mother led her out the door. Before leaving, her mother glanced at me and said, "She is very upset. She is not herself. This whole thing, it's a terrible shock. I simply looked at her." I replied, "She made her choices." They left. I closed the door. I took a deep breath. My hands were trembling slightly from the adrenaline. I didn't call the police right then as they left, but I took photos of the damaged vase. I noted down precisely what occurred, when it happened, and what was stated. My lawyer had advised me to document everything. Around an hour later, Anna's father phoned me. He apologized for Anna's conduct and for the damaged vase. He mentioned Anna was extremely upset and not thinking straight. He added they were attempting to get her help. He also stated Anna refuses to sign the divorce papers. She is claiming she will fight it. She is asserting I have no grounds. I informed him I have grounds. "Your daughter committed fraud by marrying me while having an emotional affair and planning a physical one." He sighed heavily. He didn't dispute with me. He simply remarked, "This is a mess, a terrible mess." About Noah and his wife, here's a brief update on that matter. My lawyer had initially cautioned against reaching out to Noah's wife. However, after Anna was served and it became clear she was going to fight the divorce and deny everything, my lawyer mentioned it might be strategically useful if Noah's wife knew, as Anna's affair partner could be deposed if needed, and his wife's knowledge might corroborate the situation if Noah confessed to her. He stated sending an anonymous letter with the basic facts. Anna's name, Noah's name? The 6-month communication, the plan to meet. To Noah's wife would not be illegal, though it could be perceived as aggressive. I considered it. Anna's complete lack of remorse and her attack on me pushed me to act. I wanted the truth revealed. So I did it. I composed a short, anonymous letter. I included some of the specific phrases Anna used about Noah that I overheard, ones that only someone who heard the call or was informed by Anna or Noah would know. I mailed it to Noah's wife. I found her address through some public record searches. It was simple to find. I do not know what will happen with that. It has only been a few days since I sent it. I do not anticipate hearing anything directly. But if it ruins Anna's plans with Noah for good, then that is a consequence of her actions. My lawyer mentioned this could also backfire if Anna uses it to paint me as vengeful. I accepted that risk. My priority is the divorce, and if Noah confirms the affair to his wife, and she then informs someone, or it comes out in their own potential divorce, it could aid my case if Anna continues to lie. I am trying to get back to normal. Work. The few friends I have informed are very supportive. I am not sleeping well. Each time the phone rings, I expect more drama. My lawyer stated her not signing the papers simply means it will take longer. It will proceed to a default judgment eventually if she does not respond, or we will need to go to court if she contests it with a lawyer. He advised me to prepare for her to attempt to make things difficult. Given her conduct yesterday, I believe him. She is not the person I believed I married, not even close. The entitlement is astonishing. The absence of any apology, any self-reflection, is simply astounding to me. She genuinely appears to believe she is the victim here, that I ruined her life by uncovering her betrayal. So that is where things stand. It is not improving. It is becoming uglier. I will provide another update when there are further developments. This is more challenging than I anticipated. Update 3. It has been almost 2 months since the confrontation at my house, and roughly 3 months since D-Day on the honeymoon. If I considered things bad, then I was naive. This divorce process is a unique kind of hell, and Anna is ensuring it. Anna did not just decline to sign the papers. She retained a lawyer, a true shark, from what I understand. They are disputing the divorce on the basis that my reasons are invented and malicious. They are refuting any affair or plan for an affair. Her lawyer submitted a counterproposal that made my jaw drop. Anna is demanding 1. Significant spousal support for a marriage that endured only 3 weeks before I discovered her betrayal. Her reasoning? Emotional distress and public humiliation resulting from my abandonment of her on the honeymoon, and defamatory accusations to her parents. She also claims she left a part-time job she held before the wedding, expecting to be a married woman, and now her earning potential has been harmed. The job was 10 hours a week. 2. Half of all assets. This encompasses half the worth of my house, which I possessed for 5 years before we even met. Half of my savings, again predominantly premarital, and half of the wedding presents, even those from my family. She is also claiming the $100 I took from the joint gift account was theft. 3. Payment for her ruined honeymoon and the cost of her emergency flight back. 4. Payment for her legal fees. 5. A formal apology from me for destroying her reputation. My lawyer stated these demands are largely outrageous and intended to pressure me. He added, we will contest them all, but it means more time, more money, and more stress. Anna has been busy. She is attempting to portray me as the villain to anyone who will listen. Mutual friends, some have contacted me, bewildered. Apparently, Anna informed them I experienced a sudden mental breakdown on the honeymoon, became paranoid and controlling, and deserted her by canceling her ticket. She claimed I invented the story about Noah to excuse my abusive behavior. Some friends trust her, or at least are remaining neutral in a way that feels like they trust her. Others know me better and support me, but it has still created divisions. On social media, she has not named me directly, but she has shared many vague posts about enduring betrayal, leaving a toxic marriage, being deserted by someone you trusted, and falsehoods spread by a cruel person. Her friends, including Lisa, comment with encouraging messages calling her strong and brave. It sickens me. Her family, her parents, are a mixed picture. Her dad appears to grasp the truth, but is stuck in the middle. He phoned me once, very stressed, and asked if there was any method to make this disappear quietly. I told him she needs to acknowledge the truth and sign the divorce papers without these absurd demands. He said she refuses. Acknowledge the truth and sign the divorce papers without these absurd demands. He said she refuses. Her mom, from what I gather, is entirely on Anna's side, believing I am the villain who deceived her innocent daughter. Her sister still speaks to me at times, mainly to voice frustration with Anna's theatrics and refusal to confront reality. She mentioned Anna experiences emotional breakdowns daily, which typically involve screaming, crying, and blaming everyone except herself. The direct harassment has not ceased. It merely altered. Blocked calls. I still receive calls from no caller ID that I do not answer. I presume it's her. I drop the divorce and try to mend what I broke. My lawyer has a copy. Work incident. 2 weeks ago, she appeared at my workplace. I work in a fairly large office building. She managed to get past the front desk by claiming she was Mrs. and was bringing lunch for me. She arrived at my department and began yelling my name, insisting on speaking with me. My manager and security had to lead her out. She was screaming that I was attempting to destroy her and that I was a liar. It was deeply embarrassing. My HR department became involved. My lawyer dispatched a cease and desist letter to her lawyer regarding contacting me at work. Physical incident. Last week, I was placing my trash bins out on the curb that evening. A car slowed down. It was her. She lowered the window and began yelling insults at me. Then she tossed a milkshake out the window in my direction. It primarily struck my arm and the wall of my home. She then drove off quickly. I noted the license plate. It was her vehicle. I phoned the police then. They filed a report. I cleaned the milkshake mess. It was simply another reminder of how erratically she is behaving. My lawyer is utilizing this for a potential restraining order application. I learned through Anna's sister that my anonymous letter to Noah's wife certainly reached her. Evidently, Noah's wife confronted him. He initially denied it, then gradually revealed some truths, and possibly all of it. The sister mentioned Noah and his wife are experiencing significant issues. She also mentioned Anna telephoned Noah in tears after his wife discovered the truth, and Noah reportedly told Anna to leave him alone and that she, Anna, had caused sufficient trouble. Thus, Anna's grand scheme to elope with her married high school sweetheart is entirely ruined. According to her sister, Anna is enraged by this. She faults me for wrecking Noah's marriage and meddling in her personal life. The absence of self-awareness is astonishing. She perceives no link between her deeds and these repercussions. It is invariably someone else's blame. Specifically, my blame. My lawyer is currently pressing for a court date. He stated mediation is improbable to succeed with someone so unreasonable and confrontational. We are getting ready with our financial disclosures and our arguments opposing her demands. He is assured regarding the spousal support, brief marriage, her actions, but mentioned dividing assets can invariably be complex, even with definite premarital contributions. He believes her more and more erratic behavior, work incident, milkshake attack, will actually benefit my case by demonstrating her instability and lack of trustworthiness. We are documenting every single occurrence. I am tired. This is exhausting. There are no good days, only days where it's a little less awful. I just want this to be over. I want her out of my life. I've accepted there's no easy escape. I changed my phone number. Only family and close friends have the new number. I am considering relocating once the divorce is finalized. I just want peace. This is my life now, dealing with the aftermath of marrying someone who is seemingly a complete stranger with a secret life. I don't know when the next update will be. Probably when there's a major court development or knowing Anna, another crazy occurrence. Thanks for reading. It helps to write it all down, even if it's just to prove I am not the crazy one here.